Welcome back to the home studio. Welcome to episode 87 of the Stevie Richards Show, one of our favorite types of episodes today. We answer your questions. We have a ton of them. We're going to get to it again. Once again, take a drink. Future episode, we will have future Q&As. But right now, I caught him too late. He was taking a drink. My co-host, James Romero. Now he's in pen chewing mode.
Yeah, you said take a drink as I was already taking a drink. So I got away with that one then.
That's an exception, isn't it?
It kind of is. So for future episodes of this, we're going to launch because we do it once every couple of months just to get some fresh questions in. We're going to launch a post on the YouTube channel that says, hey, we are requesting your questions at this time. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, that is the time to do it. Anytime's the time to do it, but that'll be the time to do it very soon. So we'll probably post that in the next couple of weeks. Other than that, we've got some good fan questions. Some of them relate to the glass ceiling that we were actually talking about on the Patreon, Stevie, as well. And you're wrestling Shelton Benjamin on Heat. Now, this is the thought process was that I mentioned, well, my first WWE show was in 2004. It should have been in 99, but anyway, that's a story for another day. And Stevie was on the show twice, once on Heat and once on Raw in a no-contest match because Kane ran in. But the Heat match, you were wrestling Shelton Benjamin, and we found it on YouTube and we watched through it. And you said that you were flown over specifically just to do that match.
Well, actually, I was flown over with no idea what I was doing, but it ended up being that match, which was completely fine. This is all 2004 post Stevie Night Heat, but I'm still doing my little thing with Coach and Todd Grisham as I walk down the ramp. And this was the death knell of the light show for my entrance. So they pulled that glass ceiling and smashed it over my head on the way down to the ring.
Maybe they painted the glass ceiling so you couldn't even see through.
No, because I couldn't have purple light. So why would I have I just get the old scratched plexiglass ceiling. That's what I had.
So we might as well do the Patreon plug first. So you can see that next Monday. That is Stevie Richards versus Shelton Benjamin from WWE Heat 2004. That is going to be the watch-along this Monday coming. What was the watch-along this Monday just gone? It's been 7 days. I forgot.
Hogan Flair, the TV match.
The 2002 one?
Match. Yes.
Oh, I need to watch that again. I had to remind myself.
Because that coincided with the Ric Flair Nice episode, so we watched that along with what we were going to do. We were thinking about a part 2 for Flair, but that kind of came up out of nowhere. You know, it was your first night of professional wrestling live, so I figured we should definitely watch that.
Definitely. And if you want that, because we do a watch-along every single week, exclusive to the Patreon, we have the show before the show every single week. We've got show notes, we've got behind-the-scenes stuff. Apparently, Stevie and Chris have been doing meetings behind my back for months on end and putting them on Patreon and deciding things. And then I'm sure these meetings happen, and then you finally come to a conclusion, you come to me, and I'll just go, nah. So it's just like half an hour.
We either guess it's going to be no, you know, in true Vince McMahon fashion. We did what he called mental something. I'm not going to say what it is, but he had a famous saying: "If you guys are having ideas when I walk out of the room, you're kind of wasting your time." Or, I don't care what you do. That's usually the James Romero answer. There you go. Did you poop your pants too?
It's just the Vince McMahon thing. So if he was upset with you...
You got to eat your steak and sushi and let everybody just sit there and wait for you to finish during a production meeting.
I'll never happen. I hate sushi. Were you a big sushi guy on the road?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Love it.
So what else we're plugging? I've got my own channel, James Romero, if I can say my own name, on the YouTube channel. That's doing bloody well at the moment. I'm really pleased with it. I've been putting a lot more effort into it recently. And with the Stevie Richards stuff, there's, of course, the fitness YouTube channel where he's doing somewhere between documentaries, still doing the reviews and stuff. What's coming up?
Nothing. I hit the glass ceiling on the fitness channel. And it's good to see you develop a Philly accent and mispronounce your own name.
Oh, dude, did I tell you this once? I was filming for a documentary, right? This is a few years ago now. And I was one of the talking heads on it. And it took me 4 times to say my own name because I was so nervous.
Now you just got to say, hello, all, James here. Maybe
exactly.
The Romero trips you up.
Yeah, it is actually my own surname because it's James Romero. And I do, your Philly accent. Somehow your cheeks get in the way of it. Of saying my own name.
Just imagine being knocked out and trying to remember what your name is, and you tell somebody Stevie Richards in the emergency room.
Oh, is that what you did?
Oh, a couple times. I got my bell rung so bad, which
Did you
is literally depressing to think that's actually my life now. The way I'm treated. Michael Manning has a much better life than Stevie Richards did.
Did you ever get to the point where you got like hit so hard in the head or whatever that you like started crying?
Yeah, I'm not crying at the time, but the migraine that came out, you always have the adrenaline. When the adrenaline comes down and the real concussion migraine sets in,
Ah,
and then obviously you're a little emotional because for some reason concussions can kind of do that. They well up any pent up emotions or anything, and it's not when it happens, but it can be during the course of that. I guess the 3 to 5 days afterwards, where you're just like, what the hell am I crying about? Like, I'm kind of happy. I'm having a good game of Madden here. And I'm like, I just start tearing up. It's kind of crazy.
yeah.
Well, we're all crazy.
So with the concussion thing, it's actually what I was getting at was like how it kind of affects your emotions or like your ability to regulate them, I guess.
Yeah, which we have seen that obviously there's stories about when that comes into play with CTE and you can't control your emotions and becomes, mine has always been very subdued and lower grade emotions, if you know what I mean. But the CTE, the reason why it became so popular is because of the violence aspect of it, or people not being able to take care of themselves. Like Mike Webster, you got to watch League of Denial. I know you're not big on watching some stuff, but that is a documentary that will open your eyes up. Dude was sitting in his truck, freezing weather in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His kid comes out and he's like, my dad's cold. And he says, I'm cold and I know I can fix it, but I don't know how. Just paraphrasing. Like that's kind of there. And then obviously the other things with people with, unaliving themselves and then unaliving other people is pretty scary.
So
I just cry.
yeah,
That's it.
that's the preferred of the two, of course. So we've already talked about the Patreon, but once again, the Stevie Richards Show Patreon, as I always say, and Stevie always mentions, it's going from strength to strength. Nearly 1,500 sign-ups now, which is kind of crazy, because when we started plugging this a few months ago, how many was it, like 600?
Yeah, something like that. And obviously, the people that come over there for the $1, $8 tier. And we try to give people something like the behind the scenes studio tours or other things. They loved your Ric Flair thumbnail. Say that 10 times. But they thought it was Joe Hendry imitating Stevie Richards, imitating Ric Flair.
I see. Oh, by the way, Joe Hendry. Do you know what? I was really happy to see it, that he was like the, with the 2K26 announcements and adverts, he is like the pre-order bonus character to get. I just like the idea that he was the dude who was highlighted for that, so I thought good on him.
Oh, speaking of which, we are going to order or pre-order. I'd like to get Joe Hendry as a playable character.
Just say his name.
I did.
Watch your back.
Say his name and he
Doesn't work.
Too many people
again,
say his name.
I'm definitely persona non grata in all ways WWE at this point. But yeah, we're going to actually get WWE 2K26. It's coming out. We're probably going to pre-order it so we can get the Joe Hendry character. Still not showing up. And we're going to play the game. We're going to review the game here on the show.
We're certainly going to do it, and we've been threatening to do a live stream of us playing it. I'm going to have to, I've not played a 2K game for years, man. Because there's kind of no point. It's like FIFA and everything else. It's like just a reskin mostly.
Pretty much. You're going to see me going, I'm going to start having flashbacks of Giant Graham 2000 and then Fire Pro be like, why aren't they doing the thing with the forearms with 3 of them? Why are we not getting the x-ray of the guy being dropped on his head? I'm going to be complaining about things that have never existed ever in any WWE game.
Well, that's going to be coming up. I don't know if it's next week or the week after. We're going to have to kind of work that out, but we will be doing a review.
Today, March 3rd, or is it March 6th? I know it's early March.
I thought it was like a, hang on, 2K26.
As we record, we're recording March 3rd. These episodes come out on Thursday. Once again, people are saying, man, it's out of date.
6th.
The 6th?
Well, hang on. So it says early access is March 6th and release is March 13th. That's why I was getting confused.
So what subscription you need to have, guys? I know if you have a EA subscription or whatever, you get early access to Madden. What do you need to have to get the early access to it?
No idea. I don't know. Hang on.
We'd have to look, because that's interesting, because maybe we do a dedicated review or stream or whatever before that, because that'll give us some good hopefully views from gamers and stuff like that.
You have to spend the money on the upgraded or whatever it is editions, the bonus editions. So
Is that the Monday Night Wars one?
Any of them, Attitude Era, Monday Night Wars, or King of Kings edition, of course. How can we ever forget? They will be available on March 6th.
Oh, you get the over pre-order, Shug, as Dixie Carter would say.
Oh, right, yeah. To move on. So anyway, yeah, all that and more on Patreon, but all that and more on the regular show as well, I guess. So we've got to do the gaming stuff, and we've got loads of follow-up questions for gaming episodes. We will do a part 3 game episode probably next week, it turns out, if we do get the pre-order. So let's go to the questions themselves. Oh my God, it's these.
I got all my flight controllers off to my left here, so I might have to learn how to fly in a week.
Dude, that's the one thing that I would consider a curved screen for, is the flight sims.
No, I'm looking at a Samsung 49-inch, the G9 that goes on sale from time to time. I am going to get that, and then probably have it on a Visa mount here, like a monitor arm, swing it over here, and then when I want to play, I can just swing it right over here and have it right in front of me. Fancy.
Fancy. Right then, let's go to it. So these are fan questions submitted a couple of months ago. I'm sorry to say, so they're not sorry to say, we just don't ask for them very often. But once again, to remind you, we will be soliciting questions once again for future episodes. Take a drink of fan question episodes that we do once a month at this rate. And here is the first one. M. Power Warren asks, which move should be retired from wrestling, either because of overuse, unbelievability, or safety reasons? Now, I've added a bit to this. I've said one move for each reason that needs to go. So one for overuse, one for unbelievability, or one for safety reasons.
There's one move that needs to be banned for all 3 of those reasons. That is the dive to multiple people on the outside. It's overused all the time on TVs. It's nothing special. Most times people will get the unbelievability is everybody starts to go kumbaya and makes a little semicircle or something waiting for the person to dive on them. The safety reason is more times than not, and we have a ton of what went wrongs, right? They don't catch them or her. They miss the more people, what do you call it, the bystander effect? The more people that are there, they're going to be like, well, they got it. And everybody's thinking that, and guess what? Nobody got it. The person falls. And more specifically, I would say the moonsault to the floor is the one that injures people more than anything. I'm not talking about the moonsault where like Taka used to do or other people where it'd be chest to chest and you would take the bump to the floor. I'm talking about when they go over the shoulder, land on their feet, they always undershoot or overshoot it, or the person catching it. There's always that thing, like I said, about the Scott Hall's kick actually got the Young Bucks one right on top of him on a similar move and ended up breaking his neck. So that would be my number one thing. It's forgettable. It's a throwaway. It's overused. It's not believable. And of course, more times than not, people get banged up unnecessarily or even get injured.
But how would you know how to go to the break?
You just throw somebody to the outside. That's there, or put a hold on. Whatever happened to that?
No, you have to do a dive through the ropes or over the ropes, and then Raw goes to a break.
And this is the height of the thing, and they are down, double down. We got to go. That's another thing there. Going on a point where there's actually interest to see what happened, and next thing you know, they're already in the ring and on their feet most times from the break. So that whole spot didn't mean anything to begin with.
Dude, I like Raw from yesterday. We'll get back to the dives in a second, but I like Raw more than most from yesterday, but the commercials were out of this outrageous. There were like 2 sets of commercials per match. And I think it was Dragon Lee and Gunther.
8 commercials?
No, there were like 11.
two times 4.
No, I know that, but there were 11 commercials. They managed to get in between segments. In between advertising segments as well.
So it's funny that we have more commercials to matches on a wrestling show.
3 times nearly.
Yeah. Go ahead. What do you like about Raw, though?
Oh, no. Yeah. No, I didn't like this bit. There was like Gunther and Dragon Lee, and I think there were 2 commercials through that. And Dragon Lee was like beating up Gunther, and then Gunther like backdropped him over the barricade into the ring timekeeper area. Straight to the commercial. And then all you get when you get back is Michael Cole says, "It's all been Gunther the entire time." Like, oh, okay.
Do you see my problem with it? On a spot where it lays the baby face out usually, or it's a heat spot most times, where now you want to kind of see how the baby face is going to like overcome this from the lowest point. But you cut to a commercial and completely disconnect it from that. So they used to be clever on SmackDown. Remember with the picture-in-picture all the time? There was a time where they wouldn't cut to a full commercial. But, hey, what about the main events of Raw? I don't know if they do it anymore. But remember they were doing like 10:30 or 10:35? You would get the entrances of maybe half the people. Then you would get a backstage pre-tape. Then you would get a commercial. Then you would come back. Other people's entrances, another backstage pre. The match wouldn't start for 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, but at least that's the main event. And then afterwards, back in the day, the commentators or Jim Ross or whoever would say, "We have taken our last commercial break. We will stick with this match for as long as it takes." I loved that.
They should do that more often. And even front-loading the commercials and letting the main event just happen would be good for the last half hour.
You know what they've started doing occasionally is say, this first hour is going to be commercial-free, which means that the other 2 hours are commercial-full to make up for it. Before we get off on the tangent, because you said the moonsault thing, just as an example, we're not going to do what went wrong because you've seen it a million times. Happened on Dynamite. Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale didn't catch Penelope Ford, who was doing a moonsault to the floor. And
this
then
is the Twitter thing, right?
Yeah, and then so many people blamed Harley Cameron specifically for some reason. It's both their faults because they weren't close enough together. And then Harley Cameron's now just deleted Twitter or deactivated for now because so many people were hounding her for it. But then I was thinking, well, if Tiffany Stratton keeps getting injured, and she's a trained gymnast and trampolinist back in the day, and she keeps hitting her head on the floor and like going in concussion protocol or whatever, what chance has everybody else got to, stick this landing? So the moonsault thing is really, really kind of ridiculous. And then you've got the Leon Slater thing in TNA where he was just doing it, diving off 12 people, and Matt Cardona and a couple of others were like diving away from him to not have to catch him.
But that's it's reality based though. I would be diving out of the way too. I was going to say that girl's better off just keep her social media deleted. Just do that.
Yeah, it's about right.
You're better off.
Okay, has dives to the outside ever been done right then?
Well, yeah, I would say when it was featured as a special attraction type thing, I would say Monday Nitro with the luchadors, with the cruiserweights, that kind of stuff. There's psychology in that as well. So you have people like Rey Mysterio. I would even go back to say we always mention him when it comes to things being done the right way. Brett's very underrated with that middle rope dive that he would do. And he would do it at the right time when it needed to be done. I think Owen was very good when it came to doing certain things on the outside. Think about this. Taker didn't do that big soaring dive over the top rope every single week. That's a WrestleMania spot for the most part. Roman Reigns doesn't pull that out a whole lot. So the guys that have their basic fundamentals of psychology will implement that dive when it does make sense. But obviously you're trying, with the Taker thing, obviously with that Shawn Michaels match and Snuka's kid not catching him, I still swear he got like pogo stick. He must have just missed it and just did the turn. But it's every bit the person psychology-wise catching the person and making it not look unbelievable. These three things, overuse, unbelievability, safety reasons, or safety concerns, they all have to be overthought, before you go out there and figure it out. It's not just walking through crash pad. You got to catch them. It's got to be the why. And if you're not going to do it right, which basically, what are we talking about? In the high 90% of the time, it's not done as anything else, as you said. But it's a disconnect spot, actually, because it leads to a commercial break almost every single time. So why do it? I don't want people like on a point where they're most interested in my match going up and taking a bathroom break during a commercial.
What about someone the size of Keith Lee, for example, doing dives over the ropes? Does that cheapen it for the smaller guys, or do you encourage the occasional big man who can do these kinds of things, like a Bam Bam Bigelow, a Vader, that kind of thing, a Keith Lee, of course. Should they be doing dives like this, or should they be special when they're a big man, or should they not do them at all?
It all depends. I mean, why would Keith Lee need to even do that? I watched his debut match. It popped up in my feed not too long ago. And dude, he just basically hit that kid with the pounce, and like it's just up in the air. Like I thought it should have been like a really quick match. It went a little longer, but Keith Lee is impressive just doing regular moves athletically in the ring. The dive is just something, let's be honest. And if I could do it, I probably would have done it a whole lot more. It really is just kind of showing off. Like a big guy like Keith Lee just wants to prove he can do it. It's not, this would fit in great psychology-wise into our match. What's the saying you say? They create a match because of a stipulation like the Slim Jim tables. They're trying to shoehorn the dive in there into a match to make it make sense, instead of saying, well, this match has the psychology where the dive is warranted because this dude is so big. He's the only one that can catch me. I'm going to dive on him because I am actually the smaller big man, if you know what I mean.
Any more moves that you'd put out there? Because I think a lot of people would say, the Spanish Fly, the Canadian Destroyer, or various version of the Destroyer, whatever country you want to put in front of it. Stuff like that, where it's completely cooperative and was once a finisher and now is just a transitional move. Even from the top of the cage, these are now transitional moves. Apart from on Raw last night, when Penta actually did win the IC title from Dominic with a Mexican Destroyer. So, and it looked terrible because Dominic didn't flip over anywhere near enough. But what about moves like that? They're just like the obvious cooperation ones.
Well, let's go with this, because I'm looking at a word called overuse, which doesn't really translate in unbelievability or safety concerns, although it can be a safety concern with the DDTs we're going to talk about later, comparing Gangrel to Raven, and also we have a top 5 list of who I believe are the best people to do the DDT. But the DDT and the super kick are two of the most overused moves ever. And that's something that doesn't need to be stopped, but we need to make those finishes again. Because I watch Raven and I watch Gangrel hitting, and even Jake Roberts hitting those DDTs, and I'm like, it's not like they look so much better than today's DDTs, but they're finishers. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I didn't answer your question. If you can ask it again so I can put it in context, but I just wanted to get that because the overuse thing is sometimes separated from the unbelievability and safety reasons. But that dive to the floor and the moonsaults, that takes the Triple Crown.
Well, we will leave it there then. That's absolutely fine. Next question. John Sharrod. Is there any recommendations you have for wrestlers who seem to have approached the glass ceiling, quote unquote? WWE has many mid-card talents, LA Knight, Montez Ford, Solo Sikoa, etc., that should receive upwards momentum but don't. How do you recommend these talents try to reach the next level?
That's an excellent question. Thank you so much for that. And man, this is a question the boys and the girls ask each other and ask themselves. And I'm sure we're going to talk about Chelsea Green in a bit. She's another one that is probably asking herself that question. What I would say, the first name that comes to mind, and he's not in here, but he would have been a few years ago, Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre had to leave, get over, and come back. And it still wasn't easy. He still had a little bit of the glass ceiling in waves. LA Knight was in a developmental system, had to leave, get over in TNA, the NWA, and came back. And even then, they made him a model. Not even a model, the MC for the models. And he had to break out of that to do it and then engage in another glass ceiling with this. Montez Ford, Solo Sikoa, his is a little bit different because Solo started at the top. This is where the blueprint for WWE completely changes. Start at the top, maybe win a title in your second match, and then it's all downhill from there and you become another guy or another girl. I think the easiest way for them to notice you, to break that glass ceiling, to get paid what you're worth and all that stuff is taking the biggest chance you'll ever take in your life and leaving guaranteed money on the table, a guaranteed paycheck, a promotion, even though they're working really hard at it, that won't go out of business, and then go make a name for yourself, and then they can come back. In this day and age, we're going to talk about Danhausen and other people. They keep their names. They keep the character. Cody Rhodes kept the music, kept the American Nightmare. Now, some don't. Zack Ryder didn't keep the same Matt Cardona gimmick, so Matt is now in another glass ceiling kind of thing. So it's a very much a minefield. It's not a question that I can answer, because if I can answer it, I would have broke the glass ceiling myself. Lots of wrestlers would have. It's a fake subjective business that's run by people who wake up in the morning and decide your fate, decide your career trajectory, decide how much money you make. And right there, it's just hard to do, man. It's almost impossible. It's easier to hit a moonsault to the outside than break glass ceiling. What do you think? What say you?
I don't know.
I scratch my belly like Kamala.
Like Kamala. Oh, there was something it was on Instagram I meant to send it. It was like the Nigerian assassins, like some like indie thing, and they killed somebody. I mean, not literally, but they might as well have done. But I'll have to send it you. I'm going to follow up with this question. I have no idea. Gardy Lou Gubbins says, who was the best king of the mid-card? The guy/girl who had legitimacy, but who would primarily be a stepping stone for the next big star to level up. So really the best all-round performer who was never given a chance, or at least a prolonged chance.
Let's say prolonged chance, because the first name, and you know what I'm going to say. Let's see if we're on the same wavelength. Who do you think I'm thinking of?
What era are we saying?
He's currently wrestling.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Val Venus.
That's another one. Dolph Ziggler. Now they'd be like, well, he went over for the world title. He never had a prolonged run that he deserved. Val Venus was another guy that carried the intercom. I'm talking about the Val Venus. Him and D'Lo having that excellent match, which, by the way, I can't believe didn't end with a definite finish. I was still like really great match. Val was very underrated. I would say when he was alive, it would be Test, because he kind of sniffed that, but then he just never really lived up to the potential. He was a victim of the glass ceiling as well. I would say another guy would be D'Lo Brown back then. I don't think there was many people as over as D'Lo when he was European champion, coming from a different place in Europe every single week, than wearing the vest, the protective vest right there.
Actually, Al Snow did that, I think, at one point as well, the European different country every week thing. But he'd actually dress up like them.
You know, Al's another one. I don't know how far you would take the head gimmick or anything like that, or the Job Squad, but definitely could have been raised a little bit more. But we're talking about a time, too, where everybody, not so much it was a top to bottom of the roster, everybody had a niche. So when you talk about that, I'm like, well, Al was really over. D'Lo was really over, too. Are we talking about him making lots of money in video games, merchandise? There was a lot more benefit than saying, oh, he should have been a main eventer. But Dolph Ziggler, Val Venus was somebody that definitely, at the time, had a lot of potential to the airport test, the ability to work anybody, and he was still a huge dude. Who would I say? Good Lord, it's hard. That's a hard question, because that's a lot of guys that maybe they were king. Brad Armstrong was somebody that you couldn't consider mid-card, but never got the opportunity outside of wearing the mask when he was Bad Street and Arachna Man. Remember those?
Yeah. He wasn't Zampanzer. That was
Hector, wasn't it?
Son? No, he was Lasertron, was Hector, I think. I've got a list here of some supposed underrated wrestlers of all time. Billy Kidman.
I don't know. He had the opportunity to work Hogan when the WCW reset happened.
Terrible as well. I remember watching that as a kid and just thinking this is so bogus. Hated it.
Kidman was still over with the cruiserweights, and he was over to a degree with the Flock.
But he was also 200 pounds, man. It's like,
what I'm saying is, for what he did, I would never say he had a lot more of a ceiling to go. I think where he was really good, and he had multiple cruiserweight title runs.
Okay, Canyon.
Oh, that's a good one. He sold and bumped way too well for his own good.
He's a big dude. I suppose he's like 6'4"
He's big.
or
He's
something.
6'4", yeah, definitely 6'4", maybe more.
So this is off a sports to things. So some you may agree with, some you may not. Ultimo Dragon, which I may have said this, but he was my guy. He was my guy in the cruiserweights. I loved Ultimo Dragon.
Wait a minute. How can you tell at glass ceiling he had belts string all along his arms? That's
I
the
know
guy,
that,
right?
but if you call it like WWE or something, and he was there and he was gone. I don't know if it was because he tripped over his cape at WrestleMania 20, and they just thought, but he's still wrestling now.
Is he?
Yes, I think Mexico he's still wrestling now. Maybe I'd have to check.
How old is he?
He's probably about 50. 59.
Wow, good for him.
I'll give you another name I'm looking at. This has got Ricky Steamboat. I don't know. Rick Rude. I don't really see that as underrated.
Well, I would say this. What they're talking about with Ricky Steamboat and Rick Rude, not so much the NWA for, Ricky Steamboat, but world title runs for both of them in WWF at the time. I would dare say Rude, I don't know why he never won above the Intercontinental title. Everything they ever gave Rude in both companies, now obviously he won the weird big gold belt international world champion, whatever the goofy thing was. But man, Rude was he was just somebody you would look at, want to watch work. You could still hate him for his gimmick, but he was legit, which he was really legit, a legit tough guy. But that Rude would go above Ziggler just for the fact the dude never had a real cemented world title run in either companies, where I would challenge he should have had a long run in both companies. I love when I see Rick Rude with short hair, I'm like, okay, well, I could cut my hair and make it look like that. Not the neck down, but everything else.
He quit the WWF in October 1990 because he wasn't getting paid enough, and he got a lowball payoff wrestling Ultimate Warrior at SummerSlam. So he was like, I'm done.
Which you knew they were taking care of Warrior. Oh, yeah. And that was the double main event in Atlantic City, right? It was Hogan and it was Warrior. They advertised it. Was it Hogan and Beefcake versus Savage and Zeus in the cage?
Was that it? Or was that a special that went before No Holds Barred? That might have been the cage match. I'd have to check.
But SummerSlam had a double main event. I remember that. And
yeah, because it was Hulk Hogan and Tugboat versus Earthquake and Dino Bravo.
Ooh, was that the other main event?
That was the other main event, yeah.
So was Warrior and Rude in the
I'm sorry.
cage?
It's Hulk Hogan versus Earthquake. Because Hogan was with Bossman. Where's Tugboat in this then? Tugboat's in the poster. What is he talking? So it's right. It's Hogan defeats Earthquake, but so why is Tugboat next to Hulk Hogan in the poster? He's stood next to him. Whatever. Anyway, no, it wasn't a tag match made. Are you thinking of 91 where it's Hogan and Warrior versus Sergeant Slaughter and the gang? Or are you thinking the year before? Or are you thinking the year before?
But this was double main event. By the way, I know why Tugboat was there. I might be wrong. This is when Hogan was taken out by Earthquake and squashed by Earthquake, and Tugboat was telling all the little Hulksters to send letters. Hey, email. It's like, what's this guy from the future talking about? No, remember to send in all the get well wishes for Hogan and everything. So I don't know.
So they could sign him up for the mailing list.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan and
signed
Beefcake.
up for a subscription to WWF Magazine for 5 years. Congratulations.
Yeah, I would have been really pleased with that. It was Hogan. This is 89. Hogan and Beefcake versus Zeus and Savage. But that wasn't in the cage, because the cage, I think, was the one-off one they did that they double billed it with No Holds Barred as a pay-per-view. The film, I should say, No Holds Barred.
It all runs together.
Doesn't it? Right, here's one that's a great one. Goldust.
Oh, especially during the controversial period, right? But then when you started to appreciate him when he lost all the weight, when he was working a lot, that's what it was like. He was working heat more than anything, and his work had never been better until the next match. And his work had never been better that year until the year after. And his work had never been as good as it was in his 40s until he hit his 50s. He was so good in WWE, but then he was even better in AEW. Unicorn, man.
This one says Dynamite Kid. I disagree with that. I think he's kind of where he needs to be. Dude, he was top of the tag title thing and then couldn't talk. So Shelton Benjamin, who we watched on the Patreon. Here's an interesting one. Lance Storm.
Well, Lance had a pretty substantial push in WCW, though.
Bam Bam.
Oh, but that was the thing with Bam Bam was, and he reignited his career in ECW, and he had a good run in WCW. But that match with Lawrence Taylor at WrestleMania 11, today it would put him on the map, right? It's the reverse, the inverse. But back then, because he lost to a football player, they turned on the $1 Million Corporation, turned on him, and then he was just nothing after that. I mean, could that have been something to do with the Click at the time? I think they had some.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, yeah. That's what the rumor was anyway at the time. Kane, multi-time world champion and stuff, I'm not sure.
But never held it for a long time. The first time he won against Austin, that first blood match, remember? He lost it the next night.
Yeah.
So Glenn never really got a run as being the guy.
Maybe in the late 2000s when he was world champion. Wasn't he wearing like the WCW?
Yeah, the big gold belt. I mean, yeah. I'm still of the fact, even with today's the world heavyweight title, it's still the WWE title. You grow up, that's the title you want to win. And you want to win the Winged Eagle belt. I don't want the merchant. I don't want the same belt everybody has on WWE Shop.
Next one's Mike Rotunda.
That's interesting.
I
don't know.
He's not my guy.
His
in
biggest
WWF,
success was Money Inc. with DiBiase, which DiBiase had been called off from the obvious buying the belt and all that stuff.
They were so much more better as a solo. I thought that just devalued Ted. That's weirdly one of my least favorite tag teams. I just didn't think it did anything for either of them.
No, I kind of disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think it kept Ted relevant, and the $1 Million Man with IRS. It's almost too simple, right?
I know that, but I'm thinking of like 91 Ted with Sherry, and I love that act. And then it goes from that to the IRS tag team. And I never liked them as a team. I just don't know why. I just never thought they were an entertaining team.
It's because you're a tax cheat. Let's face it.
I am.
That's why you don't like Mike Rotunda.
Brian Pillman.
Oh, but he got way more over. He didn't even need a belt. We still talk about him today. Anytime anybody's trying to work the boys, what do we think of? Pillman and Sullivan. It's first thing.
There's two left on this list. Regal.
Interesting. And I would say that's your classic heel champion. But he had titles. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about King of the Mid-Carders, I mean, but you're talking about the Intercontinental title. You're talking about the European title. You're talking about the tag titles. He was, in most of his memorable moments were in that backstage office with Tajiri and all the interactions there.
Number one on this list is Jake Roberts.
Well, I think Jake would admit, too, that a lot of that stuff had to do with him, that he had to do with him on the personal demon stuff, but also had to do with him because they cheered him and booed Hogan during that snake pit. That was the end of it. Do good, but don't do too good. I could see, but looking at it now, as a kid, you would say, why isn't he winning the title? Why isn't he? This guy's got something. Just like you could put Piper in there as well, that never got the world title.
Yeah, but he was main eventing WrestleManias and whatnot, so you can't call him underrated. I'll give you a couple more names, and I'm going to ask you for a couple of women's names, but Claudio Castagnoli.
That's Cesaro, when he won the Battle Royal of WrestleMania, right?
Mm-hmm.
That should have pulled the trigger on the guy right there. Never got it back, never recaptured the momentum he had right there, the Swiss Superman gimmick, when he basically uppercutted and body slammed Big Show over the top rope in that Battle Royal.
Where would you stand on the model, Rick Martel?
Oh, one of my favorite characters, that's for sure. Martel, Cabral, I don't know. Because when he was in WCW before he got hurt, he was every bit as good. He reminded me like in what you would consider to be his retirement years or winding down, to be like that era's Billy Gunn, where it's like, dude is just as good as he's done. He's like gold dust. I would say, man, the model, I mean, you look at these gimmicks and you kind of say, they have such big personalities and are so over his personalities, they don't need the world title. And I would say that would probably be the way it would look at it. But he should have had a really long title run as Intercontinental Champion or something right up there with Honky Tonk Man. Or, I mean, here's a name for you. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think the king of the mid-carders or upper mid-carders or somebody that never sustained the main event in a winning way, Mr. Perfect. You talk about world title material right there. Good Lord, he was right up there with the Hogan, Savage, everybody else, and he could go. And really, if you think about it, outside of the perfect gimmick, he just wore a singlet, had the towel, chewed the gum, but he made it work.
True, but then I wouldn't look at Kurt Hennig and think, there's someone suffering under a glass ceiling. I'd say, man, he had a great run in one of the glory eras.
But when you say Mr. Perfect, I agree with that, but aren't we talking about a completely different conversation about the Steamboats of the world, the Rick Varuds, the Mr. Perfects, even the Martel in a way? Like, why weren't these guys perennial champions, multi-time champions of any level, in that company?
If we go on the glass ceiling, I cannot understand why this guy's not being given a single chance at all. Who falls under that category very specific? Because you can always say, well, Rick Rude could have been world champion. A lot of people could have been world champion. Rick Rude's a great example. You can say Scott Hall as well, but you can never look at Scott Hall and say, boy, was he under the thumb. Boy, did he never achieve anything.
They really kept that dude down.
Yeah, they really held that guy down, man. So who is somebody who would say, man, they really did keep that dude down, like almost artificially down, like a Claudio, like a Nick Nemeth, like a Val Venus, for example? Who would be your Mount Rushmore of people who they really just kept down for one reason or another and we can't figure out why?
Zack Ryder, that would be one. I think so. I'm not saying right up to the world title, but the guy made it. He made himself. He got himself over, and they never really pulled the trigger on it, if you think about it. Then he comes back, reinvents himself, and they put him right back in the same spot. So I'd say he was probably number one. If we're fleshing this out, everybody, this is that's one of the things people appreciate, I think, about the show, is we just converse about this and try to figure it out and hash it out. Who would be another guy? Man, after Zack Ryder, I can't think of anybody. See, that's a trick of pro wrestling too. I'm an example of that. We give you a little bit so you want more, you deserve more, but we gave you something. Now you have to be kind of happy with it. And back there, who would be a guy? I would say in WWE, a guy that was constantly kept down, that Vince did not like, that he refused as much as he could push the guy and make money with him. I would put Raven in that category with that run in WWE, which wasn't a run. As a matter of fact, you know what? Right along with Raven, I would put Dreamer. Perennial babyface, always stayed over, but never really got out of that lane where he was. Now, once again, I'm not saying world titles or anything like that. I'm talking about really meaty storylines that can get you to the next level with somebody else. Who else would I say?
I think we did say Canyon was one that came up. You said Dolph. How about a couple of women to end on?
Yeah, but you're saying... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say Molly Holly might be one. There's someone who's really good, and apart from like the really crappy storylines they gave, they didn't give her much of anything after the Spike Dudley thing.
I would say during that time, there was a lot of girls. I would put Miss Jackie in there as well. I would put Jazz in it. They got women's title things, but they were always just kind of felt like they were taking turns being champion rather than Trish was the one that they all could have been on that level with her, and you could have had like a bunch of women. They're like, oh my God, this is like interchangeable. There was a time where Victoria wasn't used to the height of her ability. A person they always kept down in modern. All right, let's put his wife up on the Mount Rushmore because at this point she deserves it. Chelsea Green. No matter what they do, it actually even giving her a title, it always falls short, and they said it on Unreal. Which, by the way, we get comments and messages all the time about this. I can't believe you're letting them work you at Unreal. They're just, well, what's the end game with working us with this? Like them saying this person's not a star. Are they trying to do the Streisand effect or something or some kind of like spiteful nature that they're going to get somebody over by saying they're not over in Unreal? I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't think that's their end game. I think that they will probably pretend that was the end game if it ever gets to that point.
Of course. Meant to do that, right? We meant to do that. But I put Chelsea up there. If you want a woman up on that Mount Rushmore, she goes up there.
Okay, next question from Sega CD Universe. So we already like that name.
Mm-hmm.
When a wrestler as yourself doesn't make it to the top of the heap but does fairly well, what do you do post-wrestling life to keep your family really afloat? Big fan, thank you.
Well, you latch on to a young British gentleman that seems to know YouTube in the back end and SEO. That would be a number one recommendation.
You just keep searching. You'll find him eventually.
Yeah. Do you know anybody?
No.
I heard Chris Robinson's pretty smart.
Who's Chris Robinson?
He's the guy you pay for social media.
Well, he's called Robson for starters.
Okay. Well, that's why the guy has his name wrong on purpose. Now, you doxed the guy.
Don't dox the guy.
Congratulations.
Just goodness sake. Anyway,
okay.
Right.
What do? I had this thing way back in the year 2002 where I was living day to day, week to week, because everybody gets released eventually. So I always kept myself. As a matter of fact, do you want to hear a funny story about when I started with WWE?
Yes.
I was still doing tech support during the week.
We talked about this, and
during
no one.
interview.
Jim Ross told you off when he found out.
Told me to stop. I was doing the Y2K solutions and everything like that. And I was making back then like $18 an hour for like Wednesdays and Thursdays. It was amazing. I was doing it during my indie time before WWF. And he said, you can't do that. Because I made the mistake of telling somebody in the locker room, I make extra money because I'm not booked on house shows. I just do TVs. And I didn't stop doing it right away because it was good money. But I did that. And then after I was released by WWE, you apply for jobs. I was trying to go with my technology skill set. Had a bunch of jobs that, like, by the way, corporate America is just like wrestling in a lot of ways. They say they're going to promise you benefits on day 90. They release you on day 88. Then they try to bring you back 2 months later and start the whole cycle again. I went through that. I did personal training for a while, which was a failure back then. But then, like, I started doing the fitness YouTube stuff and the home gym stuff in 2019, 2020. And then that took off. And then, of course, I was trying to do the wrestling stuff with the wrestling analysis. Really, you do whatever you can do. If wrestling, it can do one of two things. Wrestling can either make you super lazy, which we talked about other wrestling YouTubers and stuff like that, or it's so much that's so difficult that you can do anything and you have that work ethic instilled in you. But the short answer is I would do anything to support my family. I would support anything. As a matter of fact, we do this one day a week, although we have meetings and do all that stuff. Guess what I still do to this day? I look for work. I'm looking for a part-time job that has health insurance because health insurance is a scam. And it's insanely, perversely expensive. So I'm not above getting a job, even while doing this, to get my family health insurance.
Isn't that why Tony Schiavone worked or still works for Starbucks? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've looked into it. But man, I never had a cup of coffee in my life. I've been places for a cup of coffee, but I never had a cup of coffee. How's that for a metaphor? But basically, I will do ethically anything to support my wife, our cats, put into our retirement, plan, invest, save, do all that stuff. And we're doing really well here, and we're really blessed and fortunate. But James, you're the same way. In my free time, what can I do to generate another stream of income, because God forbid YouTube could just do this one day to any of us. And I don't like counting on that. Counting on wrestling is scary. Counting on YouTube is scary. The two things combined are doubly scary.
Next question, and this is the most serious question that's coming up. Deadleaf828 asks, what were the reactions like towards D'Lo Brown after Darren Drozdov was paralyzed? Were any wrestlers reluctant to work with D'Lo after the fact? So this was on a SmackDown. I don't have the exact date. It was around October. It was shortly after you got to the company. Were you there that day?
No, I had left early. I had to drive back to Philly. This was Long Island, New York, Nassau Coliseum, I believe. I was already out of the building, but I heard about it. And obviously everybody felt terrible, but nobody felt worse than D'Lo. Trust me, nobody felt worse than him. And there was no word of, he's dangerous, don't work him, be careful. Obviously the Liger bomb, which is how it happened, right? The running power bomb out of the corner is how it happened. That move was banned after that, came back years and years later. But I remember
injured a load of people afterwards with like the buckle bomb and stuff. It's a dangerous. Does that kind of bring the reality towards just how dangerous wrestling is? Because everyone kind of lives a charmed life in wrestling, as you say.
They do. We don't even realize how incredibly fortunate we are and how charmed we are to take these things. That's another movie. Go back to that first question. I would give her to the buckle bomb. You just never know what someone's back and neck is like. Like Sting just took bump, and it was just that took him out, and really at the moment he could never wrestle again. Getting back to D'Lo, Droz forgave D'Lo a million times, and obviously they probably kept in touch up until Droz passed away. So rest in peace to Droz. But nobody ever had, as far as I know, any kind of side-eye to D'Lo, or when he walked by, you stop. He wasn't a pariah. He wasn't persona non grata. I worked him not long after that, and we worked a lot on the secondary shows. He's definitely one of the lightest guys you're ever going to be in the ring with, one of the safest guys, and it was just a freak thing. But obviously, I'm sure the guy still carries it around today. I would. Anybody that cares about their opponent and protecting their opponent, which is the number one tenet in professional wrestling, at least it should be, you're going to carry that around. And D'Lo is going to carry it around to his dying day, I have no doubt.
In case anybody doesn't know this, because I'm sure we've got some younger viewers and listeners as well, is back in, and Steve was absolutely right, Nassau Coliseum, Long Island, October 5th, 1999, it was D'Lo Brown versus Darren Droz. And it's a running powerbomb, and essentially there was some kind of, not even a miscommunication, it could have been as simple as, because Droz was wearing a top, someone was taking photos and was uploading them to like Getty or something like that. That shows him he's on the floor paralyzed, he can't move, and it's an absolutely terrible scene. It's never been shown on television, it never will be shown on television. They've got it in the archives on a shelf that says, never to be viewed, never to be erased.
Never should be shown, too.
Yeah.
Let's put that.
They did. This may be of interest. They actually showed in the Do Not Try This at Home promo packages afterwards him being stretchered out. So he was actually in.
I remember that.
Yeah,
that part's fine. You're talking about the actual move and the terrifying sequence that followed that.
Did you have any theories, or did anyone ask like how this happened? Because I've heard there may have been a wet spot in the ring, there may have been a slight mistiming of the lift, there may have been because Droz was wearing like a mesh top, it might have been silky or slippery or something, and Droz didn't get his arms round and essentially got dropped straight on his head. On top of his head, ended up being a paraplegic for the rest of his life. Did you hear about how this happened, or any theories advanced as why the move went wrong at the time?
No, I don't think anybody even got their thought process to that, because it happened. Droz is paralyzed, and of course, you look at D'Lo after all the dust and the trauma settles for us, because it'll never settle for those two guys. You look at D'Lo, and you're just like, this dude needs to be like looked after, because God forbid, D'Lo could feel so terrible about it. You don't know what's going through his mind and how much sadness and just, how beside himself he is. You know what I'm trying to say. You have to now look at that guy as well and say, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything. You're so guilt-ridden. Don't do anything to make this an even bigger tragedy than it already is. Now, he never said anything, but that's just me looking at him, thinking how I would think. You don't want to live after that. You can't even live with yourself. God, I don't even know how long. I know D'Lo could not live with himself after that. And you tend to think very, very tragic things when you're in a hole that deep.
Did you or anybody else change your work whatsoever or have any trepidation after seeing that? Or do you kind of have to power through because as soon as you start overthinking moves, that is actually when the injuries are more likely to happen?
Yeah, when you overthink, I mean, you got to overthink to an extent with the logistics of what you talked about. Shirt, wet spot, or maybe a dip in the ring or something out of that. I was so new to the company that I had a million things going through my mind. I was just trying to have the best match I could have. I wasn't trying to overly impress anybody by doing anything super dangerous because I was working secondary shows. I was smart enough to know we're not going to go to the floor and bump on the ramp and all this other stuff. So I was kind of ignorant to all that, but I have no doubt they banned the move. They probably took a look at a lot of moves like pile drivers, DDTs, neck-related, spine-related moves, and I don't recall a meeting about it. I think it was just maybe when I was in one of the TVs, Taker had a meeting with everybody and said, you guys need to stop this. The office said we're cutting all these moves out. I have no doubt. The moves said, and remember, this is during the Attitude Era, right? Or at the tail end of the Attitude Era.
Oh, no, deep into it. 99, yeah.
99, I'm sorry. So we had, maybe that could have been one of the things that made the Attitude Era kind of ramp down after that.
Well, you'll know this because the Parents Television Council started picketing SmackDown specifically because it was on network TV as well. So it was weirdly SmackDown that started getting WWF at the time more adverse publicity. I'm going to talk about D'Lo in a minute, but did you ever meet Droz or spend any time with him?
Oh, Droz and I worked an episode of Heat when I first
Did you
started.
really?
I dressed as Droz. Yeah, we have it. It's up there on. I rolled him up, and afterwards turned around, he clotheslined me. Like got heat after I rolled him up, but it's on YouTube.
I'll have to look for it then. How was he?
He was fine. He was very green, very snug. Nothing dangerous, but you could tell he's a former football player. He's kind of just trying to find his way. He did, he worked out in that tracks too, right? Didn't he train in the tracks in Stanford? And he went to ECW for a little bit.
He did he ever turn up to shows after the fact? Because he'd be someone like who am I thinking of? Chris Harvard, Chris Nowinski. Later on when WWE kind of accepted that maybe they should be talking about concussions more, they eventually invited him round to do talks, look after yourself. Lex Luger does the same thing after his own issues. I would have thought that would Droz be somebody who would do that kind of thing, give talks to the guys or even turn up to the arenas when they were in town?
No, never like a speech in front of a town meeting or anything like that. But I believe once, if not twice, he showed up to Philadelphia because he lived in Jersey. So they transported him over there and just wanted to be around the boys. It wasn't an official kind of like Droz is going to talk to you about, avoiding injuries or this kind of stuff. But he would just show up and visit friends and see the boys.
Yeah, I know Vince and the WWF did, a lot by him afterwards. He wrote for the website. He was on Bite This, if people remember Bite This, for years. Weirdly, him and Ultimate Warrior would have a controversy some years after, and it was entirely Ultimate Warrior, who was just being a turd, as per usual.
I didn't hear about that. I know that, I will say this, I don't know how long, but they facilitated everything they could for Droz. And I believe I don't know how long they paid him, but they tried to take care of him as much as they could. And you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, I think he ended up getting like some kind of like special like mobility, not like a scooter, but like an off-road kind of thing. And I forget the circumstances, but one of his friends from back in university ended up founding Under Armour. And like the guy who did that ended up like paying tons of stuff for him in later
Oh,
years.
yeah,
You know,
like an
helping his mobility.
ATV-sized wheelchair. It was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So, I just kind of found that nuts. I'm thinking it was the guy who founded Under Armour, who was like good friends with back in the day. Let's get to D'Lo. Would it be fair to say, because you were saying, you know, really easy to work with, very, very good professional wrestler. In '99, he was the Euro Continental Champion, so they really were getting behind him, and so were the crowd. I think people forget how popular D'Lo was, and he was just heating up on his own. They weren't doing anything massively with him or anything.
Well, there's a reminder of that, too. He came back years after that to wrestle Santino for a couple weeks, didn't he? And the crowd went banana.
Mm.
They didn't forget D'Lo.
Well, WWE did. They forgot to book him after that, practically.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I don't even know why. Is it fair to say if it could happen to D'Lo, it could happen to anyone?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I see stuff on every single TV show every week, and probably the ones I don't watch, that there's a potential for that. The degree of difficulty and the percentage or chance of injury or worse happening every single show has been ramped up. And there's never a good time. Like you can say, well, take the big bump at WrestleMania or the pay-per-view or whatever it is. There's really should be no excuse to put your life at risk to that point. It really has to be a process of elimination. In other words, the question more specifically than why is start asking why not and really narrowing it down to what you should do. Not what you can do, but what you should do.
I'm sure it affected D'Lo's confidence. Did it affect, and it affected his push, absolutely, in WWE. Could you see that it was affecting his work, or was he becoming a bit more trepidatious, you think?
I didn't feel that way when I was in the ring with him.
No?
I'm sure when he got out of the ring, he was just like, are you okay? Are you okay? Or you know what I mean? Over compensating for good. But I'm sure when he went back to the hotel room, he was probably like, can I do this anymore? Do I have it anymore? Not to have it like to perform. There's a human being across the ring from you. And that one time you ended up not taking care of that human being. We're not putting anybody at fault, but D'Lo in his mind was like, I had one job. I had one job and I effed it up. That has to still today. Probably has nightmare. I mean, any person with a heart and a conscience would obviously carry it to their dying grave.
Next question, Mr. Matthew says, I sent an email before with a bit of research. I dug deep into the Dutch Mantel show about the infamous concussion lawsuit from the mid-2010s. Dutch Mantel addressed this some time ago and why he turned it down. Were you offered to join the mass list of 60-odd people, and what were your professional and personal views on it at the time compared to now?
Well, thank you very much, Matt. I was going to say Matthew, but I want to put some respect on your name. Mr. Matthew, excellent question. And we did a few discussions, short discussions about this where I was trying to recall the exact reason because I said no to this. I remember I was working with Vince Russo. He's friends with Vito, who's part of the lawsuit. So we were doing the Raw SmackDown review together. So the conversation came up about this, and I was contacted to say, you should be a part of this. Now, obviously, you've seen, he told me Heidenreich's on the list. And I'm like, did he put his name on there for me or something? Because that dude dropped me on my head more than anybody. So maybe it was sympathetic concussion lawsuit. I'm going to get some money for Stevie for hurting him. But this is the joke, I guess, of this segment, of this clip. I don't remember why I said no. So I guess CT kind of wins today with that. But I do remember, too, I was trying to, outside of the Raw SmackDown review, which truth be told, I was looking to pull away from everything wrestling related and just move on with my life. And also, I feel very blessed and fortunate that I do worry about CT. I worry about post-concussion symptoms, things that happen. That's kind of why I obsess so much over technology and production and keeping my mind sharp. But I kind of wanted to just leave wrestling completely behind with that. And when you have, and this isn't the reason why, but just to give people context with this, when you have an entire floor of legal representation under retainer, talking about WWE, there's not a whole lot of lawsuits that are going to be won. As a matter of fact, there could be, and this is WWE. I'm surprised WWE didn't countersue the people suing them, making them pay WWE money. So if you don't believe they're petty like that, they really are. So you said there were 60 or more people that were a part of it. I think Raven was also a part of the concussion lawsuit. I know Vito was, and a few other people. I'm not really familiar with who.
I'll give you some of the names that you did. Ahmed Johnson, who I'm sure gave his fair share of concussions as well. Adam Bomb, Brian Clark, Angela Mosca, King Kong Mosca, Demolition, Black Bart, Butch Reed, Chavo Guerrero Jr. and Sr., King Kong Bundy, both Hebners, Earl and Dave. I don't know who Donald Driggers is, but he was part of it, and also someone called Bobcat. I don't know.
Bobcat was, if it's a girl, it's Cindy, a girl who was Bobcat on the Indies as well as OVW.
There's some others here: Judy Martin, Jesse Barr, Henry Godwin, Heidenreich, as we said before, Jazz, Jim Brunzell, Jim Powers, Johnny the Bull, Ken Patera, Mark Jindrak, Mike Enos, One Man Gang, Outlaw Ron Bass, Princess Victoria, Rex King. Which one was Rex King? Was he in Well Done?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rodney Mack, Slick. I don't know how many bumps he was taking. He must have done some. Sue Green. I don't really know the name there.
Yeah, I don't either.
Barbarian, Berserker, Warlord, Tracy Smothers, Vito, as you said, Billy Jack Haynes, Jimmy Superfly Snooker, Road Warrior Animal, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, Shane Douglas, Kamala, Boris Zukov, Big Russ McCullough. Did you have a
Russ McCullough, man? Booker was all over that guy at every baggage claim. He was we talked about Russ McCullough. Here comes Big Russ. Oh my God, everybody. It's Big Russ McCullough. You know, Booker, his backstage commentary at the monitor, that was kind of what you were getting every time Russ came up. So here's a question though. What has Shane said about the concussion lawsuit? Have you ever asked him about that?
I don't think I did. And that's a big regret of mine.
Well, he has a channel now.
Just call him up and ask him.
I mean, before we steal his second channel at his second show, I would encourage Shane to answer that question.
Yeah, I really want to know. Right, someone email in Shane because he's doing fan questions. Find out the email and ask him and say that we're asking him because he'll be able to get something out of that.
How about if we just ask him? James Romero and Stevie Richards.
In fairness, I could just call him and ask him. But I'm trying to get him some views down.
No, I know. We write in the question. We do from the Stevie Richards Show, formerly Franchise University.
Do you think, do you have any opinions of the Raven and Canyon and whoever the third guy was who tried to sue earlier? And I don't know what it was about, but what was that lawsuit?
Oh, I don't remember that one.
I'm just
well, there we go again. Maybe I should have been part of the lawsuit.
Okay, so in 2008, former WWE wrestlers Raven, Chris Canyon, and Mike Sanders, that's who it was, filed a federal lawsuit against WWE challenging their classification as independent contractors rather than...
Oh, I do remember that one, too. Yeah. Mike Sanders is a good dude. I just texted him the other day. He's having a great after-wrestling life, business, all that stuff. I'm very happy for him. But I do remember that. Now, if you're going to say which lawsuit would have more merit... Ideally, I would say none because of that whole floor of legal representation that's under retainer. But the independent contractor employee thing is a pretty much cut and dry. You are employees of WWE. Come on. I can't wait for LA Knight to show up at AEW.
Thing is, if it didn't work for UFC, WWE's even more clear cut, and UFC just paid out everybody because you never want to take that chance, and it took 10 years, so it's not going to change.
That independent contractor lawsuit would be retroactive back to the 80s, right? It would be billions of dollars.
Yeah, well, that's really the point. Actually, is that as soon as I heard this, I thought this concussion lawsuit isn't going to go anywhere because apart from maybe one or two people, if that. They've all wrestled somewhere else or done athletic endeavors somewhere else. So how can you say one concussion in WWF was the one that, I guess, allegedly started you off on a path of having, further neurological problems or elsewhere, where you've done this, that, and the other? How do you prove that? And in many of the cases, They were wrestling for years beforehand away from WWF, like Shane, like Billy Jack, like Jimmy Superfly Snuka, like, actually, to be honest, practically everybody on that list. So from the off, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. Dutch got the same email, and he dismissed it immediately because he just said, he just thought it was going to be a cash grab that would go nowhere. And ultimately, it didn't go anywhere. And the guy, Konstantin Kairos, who was the lawyer for this, didn't he get like struck off eventually because he was continually trying to sue WWE?
He got contempt, and he got a bunch of stuff. Like the judge did not appreciate what he was.
Like censured, basically, something like that.
So he's a guy there that basically had a bad. This is just allegedly, had not so great a name in the court system before this lawsuit, and this didn't help.
No, because I think he was trying to do several lawsuits. I mean, he also represented Ashley Mazzaro as well in the late 2010s, I think.
I do believe
which
that's
once
correct.
again, I think he represented her as well. So he definitely had WWE in his sights there and trying to get him to court a lot.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Yes.
So I don't know if I got what you said wrong. You were talking about many of these people wrestled before WWE, before going there. But more importantly, if you didn't say it this way, most of these people were wrestling after WWE. So,
yes.
And obviously WWE put in all these tests, and they send you to Pittsburgh or whatever doctor, and they run a whole battery of tests to make sure. So you can say, before you came to WWE, maybe we missed something. You know what I mean? We missed something in the evaluation to put you in the ring. But when you have people that are wrestling years or maybe even decades after they stopped. Now, if you were ending careers, and everybody that stopped working at WWE who was in this lawsuit never worked again, much like the Lloyds of London thing. Once you cashed in on the policy, you can't wrestle, or you can't deadlift 500-600 pounds with a back injury. That was the whole deal with that as well, wasn't it? That you had to never wrestle again.
We need to cover that more, the Lloyds of London thing, where Animal was like, oh yeah, career-ending back injury, but then he somehow he took 3 years off, then finagled it to how he could only wrestle tag matches, and they would still pay him. And Rick Rude was trying to get out of his deal before he died, because he was doing everything but wrestle, like, bell to bell in WCW. Kurt Hennig was the same thing. Bret Hart had the Lloyds of London thing, but he actually did have a career-ending injury.
Yeah.
That you could actually, the thing is, the problem is it's concussions, so you probably couldn't have scanned, because I think they've been like stung by so many people all claiming back injuries, and they were probably right. They all did have back injuries, because perfect, Rick Rude did. You did. You didn't get the policy though, did you?
I get. Mine might be a pre-existing condition at this point.
That might be fair enough. We're going to move on. A couple more fan questions, then we're going to get to the news. Aussie Action Figs asks, hey, Stevie, what do you rate as your hardest match? Really awesome channel. So how do you quantify hardest match? Do you do bell to bell? Do you make it the planning? Do you make it the travel included? How do you figure that?
Well, that's a toughest question we've had so far here. Not a bad way. I'm just trying to think about what the hardest match would be. Now, if you're talking about...
I mean, you could be, like, sick. Like, what if you're, like, really sick during the match?
Oh, okay. All right, here's one right here. So we were in Laredo, Texas, or actually, like, we might have done a show in Mexico and then Laredo, like, right there by the border. We did, basically that part of the country. And I remember I mistakenly picked up a utensil, much like I did in India, picked up a utensil, eating and catering. What do they wash the dishes and the silverware with? The water, as you would say in Philly, the water, W-O-O-D-E-R. So I had that, and I got severely dehydrated, had stomach cramps. It was terrible. I was sick everywhere. I was very, very sick. That's all I'll say. Who was I wrestling that night? A name we mentioned not too long ago. Val Venus.
Val?
What was the finish? Splash off the top rope. I went right to the hospital after that. They had to put IV in me and rehydrate me. I remember Rosie came to the hospital and picked me up. I was overnight there because I could not. I don't know if anyone else has had about where they drank water in another country and they got severely dehydrated, but it almost takes your ability away to walk. You get so, your body just shuts down. So they took me to the hospital. I stayed overnight. After a day or two, I was fine. But that was probably the hardest match going into the match. And they ribbed me, they went from 8 minutes to 12 minutes, knowing I was sick. I guarantee you they were at the curtain. When's he going to throw up? When's he going to get sick in the ring? Whatever it's going to be. Dude, when he hit the splash, I was like this, as tensed up as I could be, to the point where I knocked the wind out of him. And he helped me. Dude, here's the worst part. I couldn't get out of I rolled, but I couldn't walk out of the ring. Val helped me to the back. After he beat me, we became friends.
It's sporting.
He's very sportsmanlike.
That's like as far as sick goes, but how else would you define hardest match, and what would qualify?
Well, okay, the different. That's hard from a medical standpoint. How's that? I would say probably the hardest match ever.
What about injuries? I mean, I know you like sickness, but like, what about injuries as far as like to get into the ring and actually get through it that you really had to struggle to work around?
Well, I would say even though there was only one move after that, the Polish hammer, because I had to get back up and take a full Nelson where he picked me up and landed me onto my knees. And thank God my legs cleared, because imagine if my feet got stuck, I would have blew both my knees out. So I would have had a smashed face and couldn't walk at the same time. So that match, from an injury standpoint, that was the hardest thing, even though it was one move after that. The hardest matches I could think of from a physicality standpoint, cardio, conditioning, keeping up with somebody, would be Bob Holly. Probably the most physical wrestler I've ever been in the ring with. Not dangerous. You pack a lunch because you're going to work.
What about the hardest match as far as someone who's just difficult to plan stuff with?
Well, the match that didn't happen would be Brian Christopher. We talked about that in a previous clip. The hardest person that I ever had to talk a match over probably would have been him. Just that one time. Because you have to think, dude, I'm going into this with a reputation and also going into this with an attitude of, what do you want to do? What can I work around? I'm right away pumping up their ego, disarming them, and then I can fit in what I can fit in. That's what I really shined at. To be able to feature somebody, put them first, but then I can get my stuff in and get myself over, get my stuff in, which wasn't really as much stuff as theirs.
Just to remind people, Brian Christopher came back in 2004, I think I'm right in saying, and he was suggesting way too much stuff that was really dangerous, and you just said, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And then you ended up wrestling Lance.
Lance in his last match in WWE. So it was 2004, I believe, and it was in Calgary. So there we go. But Brian he was fine, but like, you want to suplex me on the ramp. You want to drop a leg from the top rope onto the floor. And we're like second match on heat. I wasn't, besides being dangerous, I was like, we're going to get heat, not the right kind. So yeah, that's one of the only times where I was like, I just can't do this. Can I work somebody else? And I suggested Lance. Lance suggested me as well. So it all worked out. Hey, Stevie, you got a job here for life. You just say the word and I'll be here. Well, not anymore.
And that Lance Storm impression needs some work.
It was, yeah. And now you're going to get an angry email from Lance Storm. He even suggested that he sounds anything like Johnny Ace.
This is going to be the final of the fan questions, and it's going to be a bit of a what went right ranking video kind of thing as well that we're going to launch into. So this is from Grant Wilson. This is actually one of the older questions that I'd filed under what went wrong, what went right ranking videos that we're going to do occasionally. He asks, who had the better DDT, Gangrel or Raven? Now, Raven had a great DDT. Gangrel had a great DDT, but when you think of the great DDTs, Gangrel's name isn't going to come up that much, and I think it's nice that his name did come up on this one as well. So over to you, Stevie, to compare the two, and then I'm going to follow it up with your top 5 DDTs of all time. So over to you, Stevie. Who had the better of the moves?
So this is going to be a long segment, everybody, just to warn you in advance, because we have some clips of Gangrel doing one of my favorite names for a move, by the way, that fit his vampire character, the Impaler DDT, and then, or just the Impaler. And then obviously Raven had, you know, the even flow DDT based on Pearl Jam, and they just thought of that. What did he used to call it? Did he call it something else? Raven?
I can't remember. Do you know there's a wrestler on the indies that's called Stephen Flow?
Stephen
And his
Flow.
entire theme song is just goes Stephen Flow, Stephen Flow, Stephen. It's just
I
they've
did
just changed
see
the lyrics to
that.
Stephen Flow.
I did see that. That guy was like going to be in one of our botch watches, I think.
Oh, was he?
I saw one of the clips. So there's no botches here, by the way, and they are 2 completely different DDTs, but their form and technique, talking about Gangrel and Raven, are oddly similar, which most times people kind of drop halfway to their butt or their like the upper mid back region. Raven and Gangrel would jump up and take full bore back bumps with the DDT. That's what made him so devastating. But check this out. First, we'll go with Gangrel. Up. I like that one in particular because it's more of a spike, but the person's landing on the right shoulder. Now you're going to see some future Impaler DDTs where he almost does it like a suplex, like a mini brain buster, but the guy rolls over. But here, just really good. I mean, I'm just going to show you. Watch his left foot right here.
Who is this? Is this Bob?
You know what?
It's
It
Bob
is
Holly.
Bob
He's wearing the new Midnight Express garb still, isn't
Bombacious Bob, right? Or is it
he?
Bombacious
It was
Barb?
bodacious on bombastic. It's one or the other.
Combine 2 words into one. Well, Bob was like, I'm just going to take it. You know what I mean? So that's what he did. Man, good catch on that. This one here, I included stuff from later years of Gangrel because the dude, just like Gold Dust, is a unicorn and still working the same high level that he worked back in the 90s. Here it is here. Now he added some kind of little tap to this where most people, do you see that right there? Most people would take the bump off of this little pat here because usually when you do that and slap them, you're going down. But here is more like the suplex brainbuster, which was really done well. I don't know who that person is. That looks like an FTR gun. Is it?
Let's have a look. No.
I just wanted to
No,
say
it's
that
not
name because you say that. You call him FTR,
FTR
Rage
gun,
or
FTR
FTR
Gold.
Gun. Here's a good one on D'Lo. D'Lo took it flat. Some guys take it like on the shoulder like Bob, where it's ugly and they spike themselves. Then you saw the Brainbuster suplex version. This is the one Gangrel prefers. Do you see the little kick up with the... Look at how high he gets with that. What Gangrel does is he kind of goes back, kicks up the left foot here, and then takes the bump. Really well done. Not the Rex King version. I'm talking about really well done. There's one here. That was a little higher on a spike. But just the technique, the way he does it, it's just so awesome. Here's one on edge. There, that's perfect angle right there. Now, if you're taking it, you can see right here, hand in front, and he lets you go slow-mo. Boom.
I've got a question.
Oh, that hip. Look at that. My back hurts.
I've got a question. Is it scarier taking a front bump when you can only use one hand? And therefore, do you have to like twist like Edge is doing there to kind of make sure that you don't
Well, I
spike
think
your head
Edge was
into
just
the
trying
mat?
to roll himself over off the bump a little early. You see how he's landing the hip to roll over flat. It's not protecting the bump. He's taking it. What he's doing is
would you-
he's anticipating the flip over there. See what I mean?
Would you be posting off Gangrel's belly at the same time as well? So, one on the mat, one on the belly, or would you?
No, you're
kind of just be
posting off
trying
his
to
hip.
roll over more.
Look at the
Yeah.
post right there on the right hip. No, you post off the hip, then you let go and you drape the arm across, which you'll see on the camera cut. See? What happens there, if you land and don't, if you just land like this, say, for example, your arm's here and right there, and you stay on Gangrel, guess what he can easily do from there? Shoot to half over. He can reach underhook, and shoot to half and cover you. But the momentum takes you to bounce over right there. So, he was coming. Now, this one is a later one, as you can tell, on an indie, I think in Miami or somewhere in South Florida. He's doing a version of the burning hammer into the Impaler. I thought you would appreciate this one. Watch this, slow-mo. Not a lot of room for error, right, on that. I'm going to go real time. He's a strong dude, man. Watch. Boom. Really great. I mean, you talk about...
That was kind of like a Dominator almost, in a sense, wasn't it? But like a weirdly more gentle one.
That is
He
actually
guides the head down
that
quite
is actually
safe.
a better analogy to that rather than burning hammer. But the same thing where you're kind of flipping the dude into that and he goes into the Impaler. Now here, I just wanted to get this in vampire versus vampire crime right here. Him versus Kevin Thorne. But he does a really great one. Now see, Kevin does a bear hug post. You see right there? I prefer the hip because he's basing and going down. So you can push down on the hip and push up and get height. Basically took it for real. His wife. Here you go. And she took it, dude. He tucked her.
What show's that on? Is that a WWA show?
I think this was Australia.
Yeah.
Dude, he did a jackhammer to her and just held on. Bill Goldberg.
Is that a pumpkin in the ring?
I think it is. It might be a Halloween themed match. Yeah. There it is. Only in wrestling where you say, well, it's a pumpkin, must be a Halloween match. Trick or treat. There he is right here. I've always liked when we're going to see Raven hit it out of different places, nowhere. Raven's got so much stink on that DDT, but I always like when they hold, you stop for a second, you look at the crowd, go down, go up with it, and this is right here. Boom. One of the Bariquas, right? Is that who it was?
I was trying to figure it out. I thought it was Scorpio at the start, but...
Oh, that's just a suplex brainbuster right there. Oh, who's this guy? Who is that guy? Does he look familiar to you?
Yeah, who are you dressed as that day?
I'm dressed as somebody that didn't get their first check and is just wearing jean shorts.
Is this really early in your career?
This is 99. But watch the way I take it. I remember that. Okay, on the camera angle, you can obviously see I didn't land. I apologized. We worked again, and you can see how I'm going to land here. Now, I'm not posting correctly. I'm posting like Kevin Thorne. But this is only the second time I ever took this. And I wasn't smart enough to ask him, where do I post? What do I do? This is still very early in my career to not know how to ask the right questions. But watch this. Slow-mo. Boom. See, I take it flat on that. It looks safe, but I just planted my head because I didn't want to take it bad. And it's pretty safe on his part, but not on mine. And I'm so butt heavy, dude. It's hard to get any kind of height with me. So yeah, I would just say Gangrel, man. Yeah, this is probably going to end up being a tie. They're both great in their own way. But this version of the DDT, which I turned into the Stevie T with the double underhook, it's based off of this, a mixture of this and Mick Foley. Gangrel's awesome at it. He's just one of the best. So you want to get the Raven now?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So this is mostly all going to be WCW, although
But look who the referee is. With Prince. It's Sonny Ono, by the way.
He's probably saying something really, really mean to Sonny Ono.
Actually,
Sonny's
that's probably where the racial discrimination lawsuit came in.
I was about to say,
Charles Robinson.
Charles probably already has a few of those lawsuits from being so mean. He didn't provide us with the codes for 2K26, everybody. Sorry. You know why he said he's not going to do it? Because we asked. That's how much of a spiteful SOB this human being is. So here's Raven. Now I picked Perry too. So why you always pick me to take the DDT, brother? I will say this, since Perry says I'm always wrong, man, Perry takes the best DDT out of everybody I ever saw. Joke never gets old. So here it is with Perry. Dude, I'm just going to say this right here. It takes a special talent. And I would say this, Perry, in all seriousness, is 50% of why this worked. He didn't do turn him around, hook him in, hold for a second, go. This is literally one united spot, one unified spot. If you can see, I'm going to do it in slow motion. Grabs Perry, turns him around, right into the DDT.
It's almost like a standing tornado DDT in that sense.
It is. It's almost like he's...
But looks way better. Tornado DDTs always look terrible because you kind of roll through them.
They look very cooperative. But this here, it looked like he just grabbed them, and before he could turn around fully to know who's there, he's already DDT'd. One of my favorite ones. Boom. Just really... Raven's fast, man. Here. One of the Mount Rushmore guys, Canyon. Watch the way he takes it. I mean, he just ate it. I mean, that's, he took it for real. Boom. But watch Raven. Now, we talked about Gangrel lifting the left foot up, or the left leg, to take the back bump. Raven does the right. Sweeps. He's already in full back bump position. That's why the DDT always looks great. Boom.
Is there ever a version of the DDT where you would sweep one of their legs on the way down? Or would that just throw off the timing?
No, I don't think you sweep the leg. The closest I would see would be Drew's future shock with the dumbbell underhook. And but you're not sweeping the leg because the legs, as you can see right here, the legs need to be free to take the bump. Was that Scott Armstrong? Yeah. Is that Scott?
I didn't realize he wrestled that late in WCW.
Hey,
Is that Alex Wright on the floor as well?
right here?
Maybe, yeah.
I don't
in the
know.
red trunks.
I almost thought Bob Armstrong because they look so similar, but that's Scott, I believe. But man, what a great way he takes it great too. Boom. Perry, you go, why 2 DDTs, brother? You're
Is
in
that
here.
Perry?
That's Perry. I
I thought it
believe.
was Dean.
Is it Perry?
Oh, yeah, no, I think you're right, yeah. I think you're right. I think he's still
Yeah,
got the...
he does give one to Dean Malenko. But man, look, once again, he does look at the crowd, but once Perry comes up off that knee and gives him the hook right there with the arm, he's ready to go. Really great stuff. When I was watching this, I was like, you get to a point where you're just like, it's just amazing the way these guys can do it. I'm sorry, Perry. 3. Jeez, brother. Great DDT, though. Protected him. Really good job. Now, what I like about this, Raven's talking on the microphone, cutting a promo on Riggs as he's going to give him the DDT. Boom. And he took it. You can get your forearm ahead of you, but you're still playing your head. But just Raven's back bump on this, as he's holding a microphone. Pretty cool. Can't say enough good stuff about it. Now, here's one of my favorite things. He did it to Jericho on this too. I loved the whip, like reverse through with the arm twist into the DDT. Boom. Once, like you said, it's just almost like one move combined, like the tornado style DDT. But really, when you think about it, right there, he's ready to go. Now, Kidman brought his arm in. See how Raven put the arm here to kind of put across the body? But then Kidman, boom, right there. Who's that guy?
We even watched this, didn't we? And you just said Raven really jammed you on it.
Well, the only reason I put it in here is for Danny Doring, because look who's watching.
Ah, of course.
But yeah, oh, dude, he'd always draw me. Let's go slow-mo with this. Let's see the moment his heart just literally comes out of his body, as they say in The Simpsons. Hey, by the way, social crits, put a Simpsons. He's already dead. He's dead already in the ECW Batista Big Show thing. And you're writing timestamp down.
I am. Well, it won't happen otherwise.
Here we go.
Go on, let's see it.
Spike. Here. Yeah, I already had a broken neck. It didn't matter at that point. This is pre-fusion surgery. That might have been the moment that it went from one level to two levels of a fusion. This
How they didn't do a Raven Savage feud off that? That would have been so great.
Still my favorite here. Do you agree? Just coming into this, pull him in. Now you notice Raven held onto his hand. Really, I like that right there. Made sure that the arm went across his body. Really great stuff. Oh my God, this guy again? Boom. Well, that would do it. I love that he showed all four sides. He grabbed me after I beat Scotty Riggs and just little off balance and just there. You got a question?
He nearly tapped your back then, but then didn't. I don't know if is that just everyone's habit to tap the back as you're going down on the DDT? Or, I mean, obviously it's like a cue as well, but why did he hover around and then not actually tap you on the back?
I think sometimes because Jake would do it on the way down and slap the back, it was a way to look like you're driving him even more with the other arm. That's what I think the worked reason is. God, how many times has Scotty DDT me? Oh, one more. Yeah, this is the one I got a stinger from. Right there. 100% me, by the way. Raven didn't. We weren't exactly getting along. I'm sure he laid into it, but yeah. Yes. All right, that looks like something else now. Sorry.
It does. It does that. Before we this erotic display of DDTs, let's conclude.
I thought you
and
Raven didn't get along. You look like you're in love.
Raven and Gangrel, who wins?
What are the criteria? This is the toughest, like, who did it better video ever. Please help me out here.
Yeah. Well,
as the camera goes non-level on this, because it's a heavy teleprompter.
Which one looked more devastating? Which one do you think meant more? Who delivered the DDT more consistently well over the years as well?
Raven. Raven's finish with the DDT. No slight on Gangrel. But if you want to attach success, push, world titles, they all revolve around that even flow DDT. The DDT, I played this WCW one, and Chris, if you can be rolled in, please. The part is when he pulled me in and looked around, by the way, Raven was the heel, the fans in Nashville all came to their feet, like almost as much as when Bill Goldberg went to do the jackhammer. That's how over Raven was. So I would say based off of all that, the stink factor, meaning that Raven, like you said, he just snatch and drop, like quick. What did they used to say? Like what Jake used to say? Oh my God. He used to say,
What does DDT stand for?
no, it was,
The end.
but it was something quick fall, sudden stop. You know what I mean? He used to say it in his promos sometime. That's Raven. It looked like he was trying to spike your head, not lift you up in the air and drop you. So
to finish off this kind of DDT segment, I guess, I asked you to come up with your top 5 of all-time DDTs. Now, we're going to B-roll this in. It's not going to be what went wrong, but what went wrong. Like an analysis portion of it.
Wrestlers, top 5 wrestlers to do the DDT, right?
Yes, exactly. See, taking the DDT would be a completely different matter, but giving the DDT, who would be your top 5?
All right, that's easy. It's not easy because it's almost like a 5-way tie. What I meant was you said top 5 DDTs. I thought you meant like which one of these or the moments.
Oh, no.
The actual
sorry,
person that delivered the DDT. Everybody knows what number 1 is, but we'll hold the predicted to suspense.
No, but why don't we go 1 to 5 then? So
Number
we'll
1,
keep
Jake
the suspense
Roberts.
a bit more.
100% Jake Roberts, number 1.
Yeah, but why Jake? I know he invented it pretty much, but why does he still do it the best after 40 odd years?
The Raven factor of now here's the thing. Raven did the DDT because of Jake. I guarantee you there's other people that did the DDT because of Jake. More modern people do it because of Raven and other people. It was literally not because of the time, not because of anything, but the DDT, Jake's facial expression, the body language of a snake or anything like that, all the presentation, and then the DDT was, dude, he put so much stink on that DDT, even more so than Raven. But then you get the moments of Ricky Steamboat taking it on the floor for real with the big hematoma on his head, other things. It might just be me being nostalgic, but it always ranks. When I watched it back, I watched Jake compared to these. It's still a cut above the rest, no matter what. Might be bias, might be old head thinking, but yeah. Okay, so number 2, Raven. Right up there with Jake. He was a student of Jake. He does the DDT every bit as good as him, but there's something Jake has that just makes it number 1. Go ahead.
Was Raven a student of Jake? I mean, just like on videotape, or did he actually kind of study under him at some point?
Well, he knew Jake. I don't know how much he asked Jake, but he sure as heck studied Jake, and sure every time I was around him and DDP referred to Jake. So Jake must have put them under the learning tree at some point during their careers, because the person they would mention, psychology, character, not yelling, talking, all this stuff, everything that made them superstars was based off of Jake. That's from their mouth to my ears.
Number 3.
Number 3, Gangrel. Just based off what we showed, because a unique take on the DDT, calls it the Impaler, but also there was parts where he caught people off a crossbody, dude, and in midair turned it. Obviously, they weren't like big dudes. Turned it in midair into the Impaler. It's pretty cool. It'd be cool, but this was actually cool. It made sense. Number 4, the 4 and 5 are tough. Future Shock DDT, number 4, Drew McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
I think right there. But I have to give it to Mick as number 5 just because he's won matches with it. It was a finish and people knew it. I know Sacco and all that stuff, but he did a really good double arm DDT. Even in TNA when we wrestled and we took it, he did a spike on it. I'd almost put Dean Ambrose in there with Mick Foley as the number 5 for the double underhook the way he did it. Who would you have?
I think it was a good list. With Mick, I think there was maybe a bit of variance between how good it looked and sometimes didn't look. I think maybe later on in his career, he did them very, very lightly.
Yeah, he leaned to one
I would
side when
say.
he did it to me. He leaned to one
Yeah.
side so I could drop a knee and kind of bounce off it.
He kind of, in a weird way, I won't say prostituted that finish out, because he kind of did the opposite. He just found a better finisher, and then that just became, by virtue, the secondary finish.
But not even a setup for the finish. It was just somewhere in the match.
Yeah, which I find kind of really weird. Did he have a finisher before that? I can't remember. Or like a well-established one.
Well, he had before that, you talking about WCW? Wow, that's tough. He always ended up just taking a bump to the floor with the mats removed. But, man, that's really a tough. He didn't win too many matches, but when he did, it was always the mandible claw from Mankind moving forward.
It's a bit of a follow-up, because I didn't ask you to come up with this list, but who was really great at taking DDTs in general? And because you mentioned him a couple of times, I want to mention Val Venus, I thought, because he always used to do the full handstand and roll through. Rob Van Dam obviously takes tons of moves, great pile drives and whatnot. He always took a great DDT. Anybody else who you could always rely on to take a great bump in that sense?
Yeah, those would have been the first two names, and I wouldn't know which one to Val and Rob with spike in their head and rolling over. Al Snow, we saw it during the DDT stuff. Al Snow takes a great face, chest, stomach bump, which is basically good for the Impaler, but for Raven's DDT, I'm not so sure. Jericho takes a really good one, but what we saw here, I'd like to believe mine can be hit or miss because I throw that right knee forward, but when I get a good sense of taking it, I take a really good one. I have to Barry Horowitz myself on that. I can't think of too many people that take really, really bad DDTs, as a matter of fact, which is a good problem to have.
Well, my follow-up was going to be, who would be the types who would really shy away from any kind of front bump like that? Like you say, you put the knee up, you put your hands like way out in front, that kind of thing, and there's not much contact. Who was that?
Oh man, I'm gonna get to it. Just hold that. I got to replace Mick with somebody else. Based on what you said, who would shy away from it? I see Dean Malenko do the roll through all the time with Raven and WCW, and a lot of times he would roll through. Those bumps never look good without the spike. You know what I'm talking about? Where they take it like they just roll through and it just looks like a takedown, not a drive to the mat. I forgot. I got to replace Mick. My apologies to Mick. Based off of my own bias and the fact I would pop for it, and I have done this spot. It was a very underrated DDT. Arn Anderson, number 5.
Well, yeah. That's miles better. That's much better.
My favorite Arn Anderson DDT spot is, and please B-roll this in, Chris, because young people, you missed out on a treat. Left-handed Arn Anderson would go to throw a punch at somebody, they duck, and he'd go right into the DDT. Remember that spot?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's the name I was thinking of. Arn's number 5. Which you could...
Dude, I'd put him 2 or 3.
I was about to say, I could. All right. Executive decision by our co-host, James Romero. We're going to flip Drew and Arn and make Arn 4. I know you want to go higher with it, but I still believe Gangrel's still doing it today, dude. So you got to give him a place for that.
Okay, then. So that is the end of the fan questions for this month. To be honest, I kind of think that we could probably do this every single week for the rest of time with the amount of questions we've got backed up. But hey, there you go.
You also said, just to interject real quick, you also said that, please, if you can ask questions that will require smartboard comparisons, annotations, all this stuff like the DDT segment that we did on this episode, please do that. We love doing those segments, and it seems to get a lot of interaction from people with opinions, especially ranking moves and stuff like that.
Yeah, best and worst, rankings, anything like that, we welcome all. And once again, in a couple of weeks or so, make sure that you're subscribed to the Stevie Richards Show YouTube channel, because I will do a post, or Stevie will do a post, formerly known as the community board. I don't even know what it's called now. But the post section, it will come up, especially on your phone, by the way. It seems to whatever, for whatever reason, come up in your timeline more there. Soliciting questions there, and that is how you submit questions for future shows. Anyway, let's get to the news. And first off, this came out yesterday as we record this. Demolition are finally into the WWE Hall of Fame. Your reaction?
First and foremost, I have to say that there's nobody out there and nobody in recent memory that deserves it more than these two talents. Axe and Smash, Demolition, one of my favorite teams. When you hear that music, it's still that Rick Derringer music, Demolition, just made them what they were, almost to the point where they overshadowed the Road Warriors at the time. When they came in, everybody thought they were ripoffs, and they carved out their niche, became really, really strong heels in the company, and actually became really good baby faces too. Really great stuff. Two nice guys as human beings. No two guys deserve it more than Demolition. I'm very, very happy. Congratulations. The only problem I have is why, I know why, but why didn't it happen sooner?
Yeah, I was worried that, you know, by the time Demolition finally got inducted, when they got round to them, it would be like one of those legacy induction nonsenses, which I hate those. Like, how could you put Ivan Koloff in for a legacy induction, which I just find nuts. He's former WWF champion, for goodness sake, and whatnot. But I'm glad that Demolition are getting their flowers way beyond due. And also at the beginning, said there's two people who absolutely deserved it. And then I know what you were thinking. You were thinking, does Stephanie McMahon deserve it as much as Demolition, or more?
It's a tough call. Tough call. Do I sound convincing? Tough call.
The Undertaker totally chooses them now, because he's also like now announcing every single one.
You stop right there. How dare you? He said he has no clout. Stop it. Please. You know, I'm enough. I got to deal with all this when I finally see this dude, based off not just my channel, but yours as well. And you sit back, you throw the grenade in the room and said, go ahead, Stevie, talk about Undertaker.
Do you think Michelle McCool...
I just did it. You just got me again, didn't you?
With Laycool, when do you see them as a tag team going in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I actually thought they were going to go in as Michelle McCool and what's-her-face.
And one other.
Yeah, plus one.
Plus one. And also maybe podcasting co-host Hall of Fame. I think I can see that happening. Like the special award, you know, like the Warrior Award.
Do you see those? I thought we'd be up for podcast awards, even though this is on a podcast. One of these years. Do you see
Who even
that
does them? Who even does awards? I don't know anyone does wrestling
It used to be
awards.
like when I was really into the tech stuff. Every year they had creator awards, podcast awards, stuff like that. I don't even know if they have them anymore.
I've not seen anyone
She's
claim
already
they're an
won it,
award-winning
so
podcast.
I mean, what are we even talking about here?
No, but they need to invent awards and then give them to her.
Well, I'll tell you what, you should give her an award because she pays a lot of your bills, man.
Yeah, man. The McCools. We should have the McCoolies, like annually for other podcasts. Right, okay. Enough of...
Guess who's going to take the strays off of this eventually? I'll do it happily.
I think I'm becoming known as that guy who won't stop going on about. I'm more than happy. I welcome that moniker.
Yeah,
okay,
just because I can't resist being, hey, what is smartass? I can't resist being this. That's why Tony Gray always called me one. If I ever do and I'm cornered and I have my bag next to me, I will pull out a made-up award to give her for you. This is for you.
But only half of it. Like, it needs to be jagged, cut across the half, just for the Laycool reference, if nothing else. And then also a written complaint about having to lose the women's title.
Whatever happened to Layla? Is that her name?
I don't know. You say, oh, she's English. And it's like, she always sounded American to me. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. I don't know. I think she probably still lives in the States.
No, I just meant she hasn't done anything in wrestling or anything connected to the business in forever.
Oh, well, okay, I'll have a look. Layla L, yeah?
Yes.
Born in...
No relation to Jor-El or Kal-El.
She's married to Ricky Ortiz.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the last thing she ever did was in 2015. And just no additions after that for wrestling-based stuff.
Good for her.
There you go. Right,
Who's
okay.
inducting Michelle McCool, by the way?
She's already in, isn't she? They had a hologram of Michelle McCool inducting Michelle McCool. How can you forget that? They had like the Danhausen thing. They had 8 Michelle McCool dancers coming out of a big Michelle McCool silhouette thing. Right, let's get to Danhausen. Okay, Elimination Chamber. He debuted. Surprise debut. For some people guessed it was going to be Danhausen. What was the good and what was the bad of Elimination Chamber and debuting him in that way? Because I really liked it. And apparently I was in the minority because that crowd hated it.
It's hard to say. I mean, obviously they put effort into the production, into the choreography, into the outfits. They had to hire all those extras or actual dancers to come in, rehearse it. They put a great deal of time, effort, and money into that. And for some reason, I would think in a vacuum, you and I are talking, where would be the best place to debut Danhausen? They know he's friends with Punk. AEW's a big Chicago town, right? Chicago's a big AEW town. And I would think, well, this is a slam dunk. We debut him, they cheer him, and you and I would be just as wrong as anybody else because they did not cheer him at all. It was very, very weird. The weird part is they booed the Sabu lights on, lights off disappearing act, the Undertaker thing. Why did they boo that?
Did they expect more? Or what? I don't know.
Or he's just booing the end. It's the end of the segment and they're getting one last booing.
Right, okay. Put yourself in the fans' position. You're in Chicago, which is widely regarded as one of the absolute best cities you can wrestle in as far as crowd noise and stuff. You've paid at least $300 to be there, unless you waited the last 24 hours, and then you probably got a 50%
like a little
discount.
less than $100 per match, yeah.
Yeah. So you've been there, you sat through, as what I said before, you sat through 40 minutes of matches so far, you sat through 50 minutes of entrances, and then you sat through 19 hours worth of commercials. And there was 40 minutes in between matches, if you knew that. Between the third match and the main event, there was 40 minutes of commercials and entrances before a bell rang. And Danhausen was wedged right in between. So they were probably already really upsetting the crowd by not giving them anywhere near enough. And if you considered this, I say at least because the matches went too long at Survivor Series, right? So you had like the War Games, and they went 45 minutes each, the War Games matches. The Elimination Chamber matches went 25 minutes each, which is a much better time. But then the entrances were 20. So you burnt the crowd out within an hour. And I think it was a culmination of different, and also probably not that many people knew who Danhausen was.
That's that last point I would kind of counter with that because Chicago's a pretty hardcore town. They know he's always been a pro wrestling tease, which is in Chicago as well. I would say he's kind of, I don't know where he lives, but he's about the closest maybe to Punk with that because they've done a ton of stuff on social media over the years and everything like that. So I would counter that. It kind of shocked me with that. But you had said during your solo clip, if I remember correctly, something about vignettes or if they were missing. I don't know if vignettes would have helped that with him debuting in Chicago. I think him debuting on a pay-per-view that had 40 minutes between matches, that might have been that might have been the part that people are all ready to boo anything. Like you said, they might have booed Chris Jericho at this point. Just get on with the matches, right?
Well, what do you think of this then? Do you think they overbuilt the crate? Because at some point you can hype something too much and then anything will be a disappointment.
Well, doesn't Cornette say anybody that comes out of a box is instantly over?
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't instantly, but pretty close, 48 hours. So, you know what? I'm happy for the guy. He's getting paid. It's still kind of a mystery. He went through that, you disappeared from AEW and still got paid. Now all of a sudden you're in WWE. To me, that's more of an interesting thing about what facilitated him leaving AEW, going to WWE, and how did that break down?
Probably his contract was up because Tony Khan hadn't put him on TV for over 400 days. He had been on Guantanamo Bay or whatever they call it, witless protection. The whole thing. He was
Guantanamo
gone.
Bay.
Yeah, I think that's a corner. So he was gone from AEW for ages. He hadn't wrestled since 2023 for AEW. So I think that's kind of where my point originally was. Is like he was hired for 4 years by AEW. He was probably on television really less than 2 of them. He'd wrestled maybe a dozen, if that, matches on Dynamite or on pay-per-view. The rest were on Dark, Elevation, or Rampage. So, and then a lot of it, he would have just been doing segments or managing or whatever it is, or doing stuff on the outside. So even though he was with AEW for 4 years, he was still kind of just an indie wrestler because they didn't really focus on him at any point. Ever, really, AEW. So he was just an indie wrestler with a very, very odd character who, if you are not completely familiar with it, is probably going to be baffling.
Yeah, I think the closest thing they got to something, which is I think what they're trying to do here in WWE, the closest thing they got to anything that could stick was him and Hook, which I would argue Hook had about as much momentum as anybody in the beginning, and they killed all that off. He just became another guy. But Danhausen and Hook had that odd couple on-screen friendship that kind of like people could pay attention to. But in WWE, I have no doubt, like you said, he's definitely going to be teamed up with R-Truth in some way, form, or fashion. By the way, how's McCallhausen sound to you?
Yeah, another Hall of Fame induction, I think.
McCallhausen.
Per gimmick. Oh, yeah. Before we get to Raw, what did you think of, because this was like a really earnest attempt by WWE to make this as big a deal as possible, and I was really pleased that they apparently there was a report going out that signing Danhausen was not a unanimous decision within WWE, but they did, and then they went all out for it. The entrance, the music, the everything. And I thought the place where it was apparently wrong. We know that in hindsight. But the execution of said debut, I thought, was really good.
Yeah, it was exactly what they wanted to do. Now, here's where I look at maybe between the lines, and I might a little bit of my paranoia as a former talent with the same people being there who might have said no to Danhausen. I'm thinking about Michael Hayes and Bruce Pritchard possibly. When they're not, or anybody in wrestling, when they're not on your side, they'll do one of two things. They'll make your debut as milquetoast as possible, nothing. You debut wrestling and you put the other guy over like Killer Cross. He was not figured in from night one. Give him a goofy helmet, all that stuff. Sorry, Cross, I know I'm reminding you all this stuff. Friend of the show. So I can say that now. But at the same time, what if we do this? What if we go all out? Give him every tool in the book, every piece of, every smoke and mirror trick that we have. We give them dancers, we give them the box and the coffin, we give them pyro, give them whatever, and it falls short. And you can say, told you so. Do you see what I mean? There's two different ways to sabotage a debut. I'm not saying that's what they did, but I'm happy to say, because when I saw that, I was like, man, the knives are coming out for this dude now, and the people that advocated for him. But on Raw, it seems like they still are going all in with that original Danhausen character. And he's definitely, dude, you said it before. I know what I said about value in the ring. That's what I'm saying they say. He never has to take a bump. He never has to step through the ropes. R-Truth doesn't hardly ever do it and sells a ton of merch. This kid, if they let him be Danhausen, true to himself, and they let him go, they don't script him word for word, this dude's going to be a multimillionaire.
I think we'll talk about Raw in a minute, but I think it's such a tribute to him that he's one of the few people as of these past few years who's cultivated a character, like committed to it so fully, and WWE has seen it and say, we want that exactly how it is. Come in with the exact same face paint, the name, a version of the music, etc., and just be what you are now. And how many people have they brought in recently? Like Ricky Starks, Royce Bloody Keys, and that name. I know he picked the name for nice reason, but it's still a terrible name for a wrestler compared to Will Powerhouse Hobbs, definitely. Like, they're letting him be him. They see so much value in Danhausen, or some people do at least, that they see what he's created, and think, we can make millions out of this. And then enrich him as well. And then whenever he leaves WWE, it's all his. So he's got years and years and years further of conventions, almost like the honky tonk man. Like a few year run, and then he's still doing conventions 35 years later as the honky tonk man, for example.
Yeah, he's definitely cashed in a lottery ticket here. He's earned it. I'm not saying he just fell into it, but he has potentially passive income for the rest of his life. And hopefully no tragedy happens. Hopefully he stays healthy. He's going to have a lot of fun. And most importantly, isn't it about time the fans had fun watching something? Maybe that's why they booed him, because they're so angry. They just weren't having a good time and nobody can get them out of it. I think if they even wanted to go one step further, they should have had, even though it's a Taker thing, could you imagine this as a handoff, just because this is the guy that kind of now is the ambassador of WWE with no clout, right? Taker.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if a hearse pulled up. Taker gets out of the hearse and takes the coffin and wheels it to the entrance. And then we got Danhausen. Not saying they didn't do it well, but you're smiling, right? You want to talk about an endorsement, a pop for Taker, the hearse, it's all connected, and he just basically walks away.
How do you think it went on Raw? Did you just think, well, it wasn't a home run on Elimination Chamber, and then do you think they just pretty much just brought it straight back?
I think Danhausen's biggest strength is the same as R-Truth. You know how they say show, don't tell? With R-Truth and Danhausen, it's all talk. You have to tell, you have to interact. They are acts that play off of people. We just got the Danhausen entrance, which now that I think about it, would it be better to debut Danhausen as going around cursing people before Elimination Chamber? That's where the strength lies, right?
Well, I mean, he kind of did with Dominic Mysterio, and then he lost the IC title. So I was wondering if somehow that's going to parlay into a Dominic Mysterio or Judgment Day thing with Danhausen, or if Danhausen's purely just going to go around claiming credit for cursing people.
Whoever came up with the idea to actually validate a curse into losing a title the same night, it's just so small, but now Dominic has an out. I was cursed. That's why I lost. It's fun, right?
Do you know the last person to curse people in WWF was Papa Shango?
Ultimate Warrior, right?
Oh, God, yeah. I rewatched those.
This is a bit more fun. This is a fun curse.
This is more fun, but that was interminable. Superstars, they replayed that segment where he puked up either 5 or 6 weeks in a row on Superstars, unedited, uncut. That's why you remember
the camera lens. Remember he spit into the camera lens?
Yeah. Well, which camera lens? There was about 18 cameras in the damn room with him. It's like the most filmed upchuck of all time, man.
Oh man, let's talk about the fun curse. No vomit. No vomit in this segment. But you know how? He did everything he needed to do. Everything was completely choreographed correctly for the Elimination Chamber thing. Just wasn't. I'm glad they didn't give up on him after one night, because Raw erased all that.
Yeah, just so people know, on Raw, he went to Adam Pearce, made a load of demands, including having a Blimphausen and a pointing photo with Triple H, among other things. And then it was only like 1 minute 20. It's like, man, that's a lot of pay for 1 minute 20's worth of work. I know the travel, and I know remembering your lines and filming it a few times, but man, that's just a plum gig, man.
Yeah, and he can have that for the next 5 to 10 years and make more money than he ever did on the Indies.
Good for him.
And like you said, you're talking about when he goes back to the Indies or goes back, he may never go back. He might be the next R-Truth. He might get a 20-year career out of this.
We shall move on. And we have a What Went Wrong segment. Although it kind of ends up being 2 What Went Wrongs for completely different reasons. So over to you, Stevie. We have to go to Elimination Chamber of the main event. And everybody's already in. I think Randy Orton was last. Randy Orton, LA Knight interaction just before LA Knight is taken out by Logan Paul from the match. So, this is the first bit that I'm going to throw to you, and you tell me what is going on here. Randy Orton takes a boot and takes the worst bump of all time. Stevie, what went wrong? What was he? And this is one of the best workers in the world. What was he thinking?
Well, we're about to find out. I'm going to try to interpret this any way I can. Let's play it right off the bat. Okay, so all I can think of is this reminds me of Scotty Too Hottie with the worm, where you stagger, or even when you're doing the stink face spot. Remember, you take the splash from Rikishi, you kind of stumble, you sit in the corner. A little bit more sense than this. He was literally putting himself in position to take the elbow, which is stage 2 of the what went wrong, correct? So he kind of staggered himself. Well, I will say this. I'm laughing because they're absolutely dead right now. They're so quiet, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go to the elbow right now, and let's see. Now, usually LA Knight hits this pretty darn well all the time. L.A. Knight. Yeah, no.
And then the fans boo mightily from that. Let's go back to the Orton thing, because obviously he's putting himself in position, but that is the most phony-looking, like, positional bump you will ever see, and to the point that the audience bursts out laughing. I'm not sure I've ever heard an audience laugh like that, especially at Orton. That's why it's so noticeable.
I was going to say this. This isn't like Randy Orton here either, to do your standard, oh, I'm going to, like, turn my back and then do the, you know what I mean, to try to buy some time to take the boot. That they do it all the time in wrestling. I'm guilty of it too, where you literally turn your back for a second, turn around, take the boot. But when he took the boot, he actually was looking right where he was going. You see that right there? He kind of was like, I got to go right here. And then
he even does the arms. It's like
he does Wrestling School 101, right? He literally threw the arms and threw the leg up. Oh, but this is terrible because he's a babyface. If he was a heel, perfect.
Do you ever just think poor LA Knight? He just like with Unreal and the whole Money in the Bank thing. Yeah, Orton bursts out laughing. I've seen a fan photo where he can't stop laughing.
Right there.
Amazing.
What does he care at this point, right?
Hey, he was winning as well. What does he care?
Anybody else laughs during this match, you know exactly what's going to happen. It's over.
Poor LA Knight. I mean, it just seems like just a tiny little flub here or there, but it always happens on a PLE. And like, you know, the one with Money in the Bank and he forgot like the ending bit. No one watching noticed.
You know, but people made a great point in the comments on that video, and we didn't really drive it home too much or not enough. They got curb stomped. So now you're getting mad for people for selling your finish. Think about that. What a bizarre world we live in. I would sell too. Like, I just got curb stomped. What do I do? They wanted you to get right up, pal. Okay. I'm with the comments there. What did you want the guy to do? He got curb stomped.
Right. Okay. What do you think Randy Orton was thinking there? Because is this just disenfranchisement with wrestling at this point, and you just getting through it, or did he not realize it looked that silly, or because it just seems out of character?
I think the actual bump that he took, for some reason, I think it's a 2-stage laugh. I think he took that bump on purpose because someone said, you won't do that. Not on a pay-per-view. He's like, oh, watch me, I'll show you. Then when LA Knight, what's it called? A series of unfortunate events. Then that happens, takes the elbow, and he's just like, oh my God, we're in, as Keenan Ivory Wayne said during the Glimmerman movie, we were at the, what was it? Oh, now we are in the realm of high comedy. There, I got the full
Are
right.
you calling L.A. Knight Lemony Snicket?
I never watched one of those movies. I'm just taking the title and trying
But
to make it my own.
he is the series of unfortunate events on PLEs, basically.
Well, we can call it a series of unreal events because it's going to be unreal in a few months.
Oh, will we?
Trudge it up again for the poor guy.
Oh, look at that. He's got another injury angle that will take him out of WrestleMania somehow.
Funny part is, if they do it back to Unreal after the spot and somebody tries to bitch Randy Orton out, he's like, go F yourself, and he'll walk away laughing. He won't care.
Do you remember years ago when Randy Orton, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, did a jumping splits?
Yes, after an RKO. And he did this. He did the old babyface fire up. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Because you know why? Because the referee, somebody in Gorilla, told the referee, do this. And he was like, okay. That's it.
Do you think it's one of those things where I reckon years ago, I'm talking maybe even like the 90s or something, or especially before then, that Randy Orton would have done that purely to amuse somebody else as a joke, just because it was funny and whatever reason. And the fans would have not picked up on it. But do you think it's just that everybody who, I guess, who obviously pays this much to even turn up in the first place, kind of knows enough about the inner workings of wrestling that they pick up on it as well now? They pick up on some of these inside jokes?
Yeah, I think now we're in the realm, not of high comedy, but we're in the realm of it's been exposed so much. This is the problem, though. There may be another time where somebody's really knocked out and stumbling around and the fans are laughing at them. They're having a major medical event, like right there. Because we've now, well, with all the fake injuries and stuff that become real injuries, I mean, that's another video for another time. I think the fans just don't take it seriously anymore. They just show up, they sing along, watch the entrances. There was a thing during one of your solo videos, I think it was with TKO and the blackouts and all that stuff, where the comments said, most of the fans aren't even wrestling fans, just rich people with money and nothing to do. That's what it's turning into. It's like a Super Bowl. Super Bowl now.
Yeah.
There's no
Is it a place to be seen? Because that's what TKO were actually trying to do with UFC. Yes. They were trying to make it like the boxing. Like, you want the celebrities there to be seen.
A happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So we will move on. This is what we're going to end on. And how could it be anything else other than Michael Hayes? I text you this at the time, and you were like, Michael Hayes. But Michael Hayes and Chelsea Green. I won't say exactly what you said, but it was on those lines. So, to refresh yourself and everybody else, this is what Michael Hayes said on WWE Unreal. Chelsea is so entertaining, but she is not built for, nor should she be in, the Charlotte Flair role or Tiffany Stratton, because Chelsea's job is to help make those people. Chelsea later responded to that, "You can't help but be pissed off and a little upset and just aggravated at the fact that you thought there was maybe a chance that there wasn't that ceiling," we were talking about glass ceilings earlier, "that maybe it was all in your head, and then it was all confirmed that it wasn't in your head, of course." Now, after all these comments, Chelsea got seen, like the next week apparently, got squashed by Jade Cargill in 3 minutes on SmackDown. I figure it wasn't a coincidence, but anyway. Now, with she's got a busted ankle at the moment. She's been stuck on the sidelines while essentially getting humiliated by Tiffany Stratton every week. At least she's working with Tiffany in a way, even while she's out, so that's something. But Michael Hayes, then on The Undertaker's podcast, without Michelle McCool this time, so it was eminently more listenable than usual. That was in caps in the
notes for everybody. Patreon sees it.
It was. Michael Hayes then sort of explains his position, kind of, and The Undertaker is completely not buying it, so good for him. I'll read the first bit, or if Chris can edit it in.
How did you put it? Like, her job is to get...
Her job is to make the Tiffany's and the Charlottes. Now, I've talked to Netflix about this, because when we did that interview, and I recall this specifically, that when we started the interview, the first thing I said was, Chelsea is as good or as talented and entertaining as anyone we have. But of course, that never saw the light of day. That was on the cutting room floor, because if you're going to make me a heel, that's the best way to do it, to say she's not good enough. And that's not really what I was saying.
Here's the point. How does that make what he said any better? Kind of makes it worse, doesn't it? Oh, she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. We're keeping her in the mid-card.
The greatest thing since sliced bread, but we like this sliced bread over here, not her sliced bread. So, yeah, I like how he opens up with the name dropping. I talked to Netflix, my buddies at Netflix. Whatever. That was my other word I used when I text you that. Whatever.
I don't regret what I said, because her role at the time I said that, and even right now, is not the top role. It is to help make other people. And as you know, we all know that we're only as good as the people that help make us.
Well, I would dare say, if you're, it's so amazing. They used to say all the time in the locker room, and all the boys always say it, the biggest marks are in the office. Are you telling me that Tiffany Stratton is as good as Charlotte Flair right now? She still is very green. She still has to improve. In a lot of ways, Chelsea Green is better than Tiffany Stratton. But because you're such a mark and she won your belt, you think she's better. Did you kind of pick up on that too?
I like it's like her role, but somehow it's almost like this thing. Well, her role is the role. We can't mess with the role. It's like, but he's part of the creative team who decides whose role is what.
But what he's saying is your role is to help other people look good. We really need you, but you're never going anywhere because you're so good. It's the Brad Armstrong effect, right? We talked about it earlier. It's such a minefield that she'll never win. And in this Unreal show, I don't know. He's trying to damage control. How these people, all right, first of all, how does a normal person look at Michael Hayes in a fedora hat, a fanny pack, and a pimp suit, think anything this guy should be taken seriously? Anything he says.
With that said, if Chelsea caught fire because of this following and the support that she has, we'd go with that in a heartbeat. Look at Daniel Bryan. Look at Kofi Kingston when they both caught fire.
Yeah.
We went with it. Whether some people up top agreed with that or not, they went with it because that's what the people wanted.
Eventually.
Kicking and screaming.
Eventually. If there was even, I can't believe they even did it, because I thought they were going to go forward with Batista and Randy Orton at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans, right? That's when Daniel Bryan was inserted into that. I can't believe it. I can't believe they put him over. That was amazing. And I was waiting for him to bury him after they lose the title the next night. You know, it's just like, hey, you got your moment, pal. Now it's over.
Oh, the Zack Ryder IC title thing.
Dallas, right? WrestleMania in Dallas.
Yeah. Oh, he lost that sucker one day later. Well, why aren't they doing more with LA Knight then? He gets cheered a lot. It's so the misnomer of like, well, hang on. I mean, Chelsea Green's really talented and popular, but the thing is, she's also a heel. So it's like, well, of course, some people are going to boo her. So where does that fall into whether you should do something with her or not? Well, it's not unanimous 100% cheering.
What we're getting is we're getting basically politician answers, word salad, because you can follow up with that question. You know what it'll do? It'd be like, well, you know, what's that over there? You can't answer. That's the problem, too. There's no follow-up questions. That's why they don't even dare do the media scrums at this point, because people are going to start asking really tough questions. And you're right. When's the time to pull the trigger on LA Knight? You know what they'll say now? Well, in big moments, he falls short. Now they got all the ammunition, the Seth Rollins thing, and now this thing. Am I wrong? They're going to say, oh, he did it to himself. Yeah, what about before that when he was figured in the wrestle Roman Reigns for the title and he was white hot? You cooled him down pretty good. These people never change. These people never change.
We're not there right now with Chelsea. And quite frankly, I feel, just my opinion, that the people that support Chelsea now, if we started pushing her, would fade because she was getting the push from the machine. And if she's getting the push from the machine, then she doesn't need my help. because intricately, I feel that the fan loves it when they know that their support makes a difference and can change a career.
I'll throw two things at you here. One, the fans really hate it when they know that their voice doesn't make a difference. And two, it's always the machine that pushes somebody. The machine pushed Daniel Bryan. The machine pushes everybody. The machine has pushed Jade Cargill.
Let's go back in time. They booed Charlotte Flair, but you continue to push her, right? You say the Charlotte Flair spot, but every time when she came back, they were booing her, right? Now let's go back to a certain Royal Rumble when they were shoving a babyface Roman Reigns down everybody's throat. And he won the Rumble with The Rock out there, and the fans were booing him. What did you do? Did you change course based on the fact the fans don't like this, or did you continue? I think didn't the dude end Undertaker's streak not long after that?
No, it was Brock Lesnar versus then Roman.
Yeah, the year after. He won the title that year, correct? At WrestleMania?
Was that the year?
I'm not sure.
Could well have been.
But the point is, you didn't look and say, oh man, the fans aren't buying this. We need to stop. You can't have it both ways.
It's all just a giant pile of excuses, is it not? Because WWE has their favorites, which there's nothing wrong with having your favorites, but to say that that's not the course of action, and so, or are they even say, "Hey, fans, you're not cheering her enough. This is on you." Is that
well,
what
they punish the fans for everything else, right? With the blackouts and all that. These people. I just exasperatedly said, these people will never change. It's such a Groundhog Day. It's such a 1984 double speak, double think. And, it's just, and then you speak up, we were just about to do something with you, but you ruined it. Man, you should have waited another day. These games are so I'd love to see these, I can't say the word, but I love to see these people, another P word I was thinking about. I love to see these people in the real world. They probably would. I'll tell you what, they would do great in corporate America. Flywheel, synergy. You just don't have it. I've done the thing where I've done everything for these people, gain weight, lean out, have great matches. I've seen dozens of other talents. And then you know what? When they ran out of excuses, and this is a Stephanie line, then you've done everything we've asked of you. You've had great matches. You look great. Everything is, the promos are awesome. I don't know what it is, just something's missing. So we're just going to have to say no. So you're an idiot. That's what it is.
You take a look at NXT, especially back in the Full Sail days. Those people knew that their support had power because it could change or make the start of someone's career. It's still that way to an extent at the Performance Center. And you see people get behind people that the office isn't getting behind because they feel that they could make a difference. They could make a change. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants their opinion to be valuable. But that's also the lore and why. Now, Chelsea is amazingly talented and amazingly entertaining. She can handle anything. But that's the role she's in right now.
Not necessarily her fault.
No, not necessarily her fault, but to her credit, she knows her role and she does it and she plays it with a smile.
Now, that's true. Maybe she did play it with a smile until the Unreal episode came out and she said, well, I'm pretty devastated thinking there was a glass ceiling above me, and to have it confirmed by one of the inner circle on camera, you ain't going to play that role smiling much longer. And she said also on that same episode of Unreal, it's like, hey, the next time you see me, I might be gone from the company and having kids. And this is the kind of thing where I think she'd look at it and think, well, I'm never going to climb the ladder here anymore. I might as well just start a family now.
Yeah, I don't blame her. But what he's saying there, this Unreal show, they think it's such a great thing, or they're working everybody. Well, you know what? You're working your own talent into thinking that you don't care, which we all know you don't care. But at the same time, what is this word salad of she's great, she's great, she's great, but that's the role she's in right now. It's not her fault. But here's where well, what are you going to do about it? We only have so many bumps to take, so much time in this business to make money. So if you're saying, here's what they're saying, be patient. Well, patience is not a virtue in pro sports, pro wrestling, or anything else where you have a tight window to make some real money, make some moments before the fans do get tired of you. You know what they're going to say? When they do start to push her is when she fades. See, I told you. No, you pushed her after people, LA Knight, you pushed them after people said, well, it doesn't work. What do I care? Right? And so this is like run for office, Michael Hayes. You'll do great. Congratulations.
It's worse for the women as well, because obviously they've got to find an amount of time to, if they want kids, and they've got to be away for a very long time. So, and then a lot of them just don't want to come back.
Why would you with this? Why would you with this?
I'll just say, I'll put my 2 cents in. I think she's underutilized.
I agree.
I think she, without a doubt, with just a hair more mean streak, I think she could be. I could think she could be a top player. She has that thing, that it thing.
She does have the it factor.
She has the it factor, and I think there's a lot of great things coming for that young lady. I'm a big fan of hers.
And then afterwards, he intimates, it's like, look, I book AAA. We love her down here. We'll do more with her. And basically, Undertaker's probably just looking at, the Office version of Doink the Clown and saying, buddy, what dog food are you eating? I think it's the point where he keeps saying, that's the role she's in. Like somehow it's like this immutable fact that cannot be changed by him and the people in that particular creative team that he is a part of. That's the bit that I don't understand why he's saying, this cannot be changed. This is the role. And it's not her fault. And it's not our fault, apparently, because he doesn't put the blame on anyone else.
Here's your double speak, right? In the same vein of, there's no such thing as a glass ceiling, grab that brass ring, but stay right there. Isn't this what we're talking about? The other thing is, here's the dangerous part of this. And I believe Taker is a fan of hers and all that stuff. Because we're all insecure when we get into this business, we're insecure when we're in it, and we all have egos, and we want the pat on the back, the Barry Horowitz thing, and we want someone to say these words, which are the most dangerous, but also the most diffusing. After all this, Taker says, I'm a big fan. Oh, Undertaker's a big fan. That doesn't make you a one dime more, Chelsea, because they're a fan. Lots of people in the office were fans of mine, and I kept getting paid less. So I'm sorry if I'm raising my voice, but it just, they just play these games, and then when it's too late, guess what? Well, Chelsea didn't strike while the iron was hot. No, you didn't.
What's most interesting is like WWE performers are more, I guess, constricted, more rehearsed, they tell you what to do every minute in the ring.
Independent contractors.
Yeah, well, aside from the fact they're independent contractors,
I meant they tell you everything
to
do. It's not they're not independent contractors.
But there's that as well. But it's like, well, she needs a hair more meanness. Well, but really, it's the office who needs to tell you to do that. Because if you start doing things, I guess, away or taking a risk or a chance, you run more of a risk than ever these days of raising the ire of creative who didn't tell you to do whatever it was in the first place. So how can one want to take the risk in the first place to change your character up without prior approval?
Well, I'll give you another one. Doesn't everybody have a mean streak? Isn't everybody a tough guy? What happened to the chicken you-know-what heel that slips over and runs away? This whole thing of, oh, they need to just have a little mean streak or whatever. Why don't you put her in a match and tell her to be mean? Well, that's not what brought her to the dance, brother. That's not her role. You see what I mean? Now we're talking in circles. Dude, just stop doing podcasts. How's that?
Who, me?
Every time these people open their mouths talking about Michael Hayes, Bruce Pritchard, even Triple H. You're exposing everything you're doing. You're not hard to figure out.
At the very least, I know you said, well, The Undertaker's a fan, Cody Rhodes is a fan, and he's recently been sort of talking her up. I think Randy Orton at Elimination Chamber after the match was wearing Chelsea's hat. So he's a fan. There's loads of big names in the company who are a fan. So at some point, hopefully, enough momentum will start, but maybe not. I don't know. Is it almost counterproductive? In that sense?
The Office will play, they'll have their God complex, and they'll do it out of spite. Oh, everybody wants supposed to push her, huh? Okay. We'll push her a little bit, but they'll give her something. I've seen it firsthand. We're all fans of this person. Let's get them a push, get them whatever. And the Office is like, well, we didn't think that. This is very much going to be, Michael Hayes said, we listen to the fans, but then again, we don't listen to the fans. But we listen to the fans, but we don't care what the fans think, but we really care what the fans think. But you know what? You're staying in that role. Oh, it was just too late. You should have said something a year ago. I'm sorry. Well, Chelsea wanted to have a baby. It's not our fault.
Is Michael Hayes, in your opinion, while you were there anyway, the worst for this kind of doublespeak?
I've never heard this kind of doublespeak from Michael Hayes. What I would say is throughout his career and during the booking when I was there, has one of the greatest minds for the business. Does he in 2026? I'm not around to even know. I know this is tone deaf. I know this is, and the fact that Taker in a very polite way, pushed back on him and said, yeah, I hope she goes to AAA. But then again, you're out of the country and now you're not in your comfort zone. You know, this girl deserves to have, and who's watching AAA? What are the ratings for AAA right now? What's the money like that you can make potentially in AAA versus WWE?
It doesn't compare.
Doesn't compare. So is she better off just being lower to mid-card, no mean streak act and make a lot more money, cash out, have a family? I don't know.
We are
put
going
her
to
with the husband and see what they both can do.
Well, so they can both be on the undercard. I don't know why they brought in Matt Cardona. Like he's wanted to get back there since he left, like over 5-6 years ago, whenever it was. And then they just dumped him in and put him on the absolute bog standard lowest rung. Oh, here's one more thing as well. They just brought Royce Keys in, Will Hobbs, right? Has he been on TV since the Royal Rumble? I don't think he has. He just debuted him and then that was it.
Maybe he's fighting for that prestigious speed title or whatever.
I'd have to go back to NXT for that, but maybe, because Speed doesn't exist as a show anymore, but the Speed title does. Yeah, that's why.
Is that on NXT now?
Yeah.
Honestly,
don't think too much about it. Right then, we're going to shut down the show.
I'm having trouble enough to trying to erase my thoughts about these quotes from Michael Hayes.
They are some of the most ridiculous comments in the world. And the thing, right, just as an interviewer, and I'm not saying that I'm definitely better an interviewer than Undertaker, but I am. And the first thing I would do is I would actually write down quotes that he was saying live. Because you know how I'm obsessive with writing notes constantly and follow-up questions. The first thing I said was, you know that you just contradicted yourself about 48 times. Why don't you say what you really mean, buddy? And that's why I would fail immediately and I'd be fired.
Yeah, you last maybe till the end of the day, and that would be about it.
I just, why let people get away with stuff? Like, you're on for an interview, be honest. Or just say somebody in the creative hates you or something. Just lay it out there. Come on now.
Well, it may not be the perfect name for it, but when I worked there, I used to call it Al-Qaeda Entertainment because there's so many sleeper cells and you don't know which sleeper cell's activated and which one's on your side or against you.
We're with you, everybody, fans and watchers, and thank you so much once again for tuning into a Stevie Richards Show episode. We'll be back next Thursday, as we are now on every single Thursday. A fresh YouTube clip is going to be out every single day, as it always is on the Stevie Richards Show YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed yet, please do subscribe, because we will also be soliciting fan questions coming up in the next couple of weeks, because we're doing this kind of monthly at this point. And I think that's pretty much all I've got to say over that. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Stevie, to thank everybody once again, and also especially the Patreon supporters.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody on Patreon, but first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for playing their role here on YouTube. And if you haven't played your role yet, please subscribe. Click the bell to get notified. I'm going to have material with my friends for months off of this. God, I wish I had a concussion to forget his quotes. So yeah, thank you so much for subscribing. Click the bell to get notified. Please comment once again. Like James said, when that post does go up on YouTube, man, my Philly accent's kicking in heavy now. They must have a voodoo doll, I think. Now it's like my vocal cords. But thank you so much. Please leave a question, or maybe we can make it into a smartboard segment or a detailed breakdown segment. We appreciate that. I had a lot of fun today with the DDT segment. Also, patreon.com/Stevie Richards. Watch alongs every Monday morning. Show notes every Tuesday morning. And of course, the show before the show, where I talk about the amazing, affordable U.S. healthcare system on the pre-show this past week. And we talk about the movie that James has not watched, but should, Equilibrium. Leave a comment about that movie below. Thank you once again for watching episode 87 of the Stevie Richards Show. See you next week for episode 88. Bad Street, USA. Oh, Bad Street, Atlanta, GA. I don't know that.